This is Sybert signing into Kane's Wrath on the map Tournament Rift, but it's twisted. So this is Tiberium Rift for game number 1 of this best of 5. It is round 1 of Group E, the 5th and final group of Chrono Clash II. These players are going to attempt to qualify into the playoffs. And up here in the top left-hand corner, playing the blue, this is Buka. Meanwhile, in the bottom right-hand side, playing the black hand, playing green, it's Lamas. Tiberium Rift, a classic map in a lot of ways. It isn't the absolute classic of Tournament Rift, but it is a similar enough map with a bit of a twist to it, and it's also the wrong starting map for this round. They were supposed to be playing on Tournament LA, but we will let it slide because they at least played their games in a reasonably timely fashion, and it's an ops center, so this one may be a quick one nonetheless. But of course, Chrono Clash II is powered by Chronosphere, and they want you to know that behind every smooth app or site you visit are teams of developers and operators working to keep those systems fast, reliable, and running around the clock. Chronosphere, buzzer spots that flame tank. Chronosphere helps those teams by giving them a real-time view into how systems are behaving at scale across hundreds of services, containers, clusters, and clouds. Chronosphere gives teams control over what they see, what they spend, and what they solve. Go ahead and check them out at chronosphere.io or by clicking the, well, not clicking the link in the description, but you can scan the QR code on screen as well. Chronosphere, great sponsor to work with, and not a lot of companies that are looking to support Command & Conquer and Kane's Wrath here in 2025. Not a lot of support for this flame tank either, but I'm sure Chronosphere would support that guy as well. Lamas kicking it off with a flame rush and finding a little bit of trouble with the secret tanks catching the first flame tank out in the middle of the map, but there's more green dots trying to cross into the screen side of the map, and they will find at least one flame tank will make it into the base. Another flame tank perhaps getting close, might just go for the tib spike down there, and instead it is going to be a refinery kill in the main base. Lamas finds the kill that counts. He finds the tib spike, but not at all. He sees it, and then he dies before he can actually do any damage to the tib spike. One refinery and almost a power plant as Buka moves his MCV down to the natural expansion. And actually, Lamas goes for another flame tank. This is where it does get dicey. Lamas has now spent so much on flame tanks that it's not necessarily worth it, considering he only got one refinery. He didn't get the power plant. He didn't delay the MCV. He might actually get this tib spike. Of course, the funny thing is, because Skrin has buzzers, you really don't want to take garrison in that structure. You don't want to head over there for the safety. You want to stay out in the open where you've got a better chance versus the buzzers, and both of them do get flamed down. The tib spike gets eliminated, so I guess that's close to an even go at it. You killed a refinery, you kill the tib spike. Over time, that tib spike kill will pay bigger and bigger dividends for Lamas, so I guess he is okay with this rush. But of course, the problem is that he's got 6 harvesters versus the 9 of the Skrin, and Skrin normally has a bit of that economic lead anyways in the early and mid game, and now it's 10 grand for Buka. So the pure value of flame tanks versus the stuff that they killed may be okay, but the harvester count is not. The income per minute is not. It's nearly double for Buka, and it's only going to be getting worse. Lamas doesn't have a quick way of dislodging these seeker tanks. They've got repair drones. They've got a kill on a refinery, so now the refinery count is 1 for 1 on different sides of the map, and maybe the power plant goes down over there on the left, but everything else is still rocking and rolling for Buka. He is feeling good, and even though Llamas has started to even up that harvester count, it just doesn't matter if you've got no refineries on the natural expansion. The lightning spike giving this army that much more firepower and that much more strength to work with. The Scorpion tanks eventually will be able to push this force back, but this has delayed the natural expansion by such a huge amount for Llamas. I mean, we're almost at the 6-minute mark before he's going to have a refinery up and operational at his natural expansion. And that may be fine if you've got your opponent by the throat and your early game rush pretty much did the job to win the game. But when it deploys and it's 6 minutes and your opponent's on tier 3, it is just not the same. The many harvesters of Buka now being sent out into the wide world. And of course, Llamas, he's playing Blackhand. He doesn't have that critical laser capacitor upgrade for the Scorps. So the Scorps that he built now, they're not going to get much more powerful. Sure, you could argue that defense, the dozer blades, the bonus defense is making them more powerful, but not by that much. This is not a big margin. Dev Tank shows up, a couple of Mechapeds as well. Shard Mechas, they may not kill the Scorpion tanks the fastest, but they kill them plenty quick enough for this. And the army value is just abysmal for Llamas. But the writing has been on the wall for a couple of minutes now. He's going to have a lot of Tiberium to refine in these harvesters. But of course, it's just a matter of time. The army value is double for Buka, and these Mechapeds don't have an easy counter for the Skrin. Couple of descent segments in these harvesters, and I guess this isn't a bad thing because Llamas can lose a couple of these harvesters without really hurting. So losing a harvester full of Tiberium in a different game would be painful, but in this game it's like, who actually cares? Lose a harvester or two. You really aren't going to be losing much at all in terms of total economy. Another harvester going to be going down. Who cares? Nice and easy to replace with one of the many other harvesters that already exist. More and more Scorpion tanks getting eaten up, though they're far away from any reinforcements, so not a lot of return fire happening from the Llama side of the map. Dev Tank and a Lightning Spike going to be assaulting the main base, and yet another harvester under threat down there in the south. The Mechapeds dancing on the grave of their opponents. And it's a tough start to the game for Llamas, but you have to give him credit for putting up a fight, and there is going to be the presentation of arms by these Shard Mechas, blasting down harvesters, and finally Llamas has so few harvesters remaining that it is actually a problem with where his economy is. And of course, behind all of this, 20k ahead is Buka on his third base. So even if Llamas managed to kill all 3 of the remaining Mechapeds and he keeps the rest of his units alive, he keeps the rest of his harvesters alive, he still is going to be fighting against a Skrin who has a third base up and running, who's been sitting on tier 3 for a couple of minutes, and that will do it. Game number 1 goes to Buka. It was a good attempt by Llamas. I appreciate that he opened with a flame rush in game 1 of the group stage. He wasted no time in putting the pain on Machu Picchu, aka Buka, as both of these players are smurfing in this game, just changing their names for no good reason. But that'll send us into game number 2. And why not change things up a little? We're headed to Toxicity, but Llamas and Buka going to be changing up their factions as well. It's a classic. It's one we've seen a million times. Traveler 59 versus GDI, and Llamas is once again opening up with some aggression. But unlike with a Flame Tank Rush, which takes a bit more investment, okay, never mind, this is double portal. If it was single portal, there are lots of, okay, this is triple triple portal. That bank account is about to hit 0. It's making me feel a little bit like, well, life is imitating art, imitating life, as there is the sell-off of the MCV, the bonus engineer as well. But he actually has already captured both of his tib spikes, so you can, when you do an MCV sell, you can cut one of your engineers on a 2 tib spike map, or if you're confident, you can get the second engineer and then use your third engineer from selling off the MCV to either capture one of your opponent's tib spikes, which is what he looks like he will be doing, or try and sneak into their base. So it is all-out aggression for Llamas. Let's see if it works out here in game number 2. 2 watchtowers are here. First APC gets jumped on, and it just might be lights out here for Buka. Can he buy enough time until the Hammerhead arrives? It's a tough thing to do. One Hammerhead is going to have its work cut out for it. It's a race of the bars, the health bar versus the time remaining on that unit, and it is an all-out brawl, an all-out win as Llamas wants to go into game number 3 with an even score. There goes the War Factory. You might as well sell the refinery as well. You've got nothing to harvest from it. It's 0 harvesters versus 0 harvesters, and it is a game of lasers, because that's the thing that's gonna win it for Llamas. And there we go. In under 2 minutes and 30 seconds, everything is evened up, and Buka has been defeated in style and in short order. And some people say that it's like those first 2 games didn't even happen, because of course now the score is all tied up once again. And now instead of 3 games to win for each player, it's just 2 games to win. So kicking it off in the North Plain, GDI, this is Buka. Looking to scout out any aggression that heads his way, because in the South Plain, the Traveler, it's Llamas, who has actually built a refinery this time. And that is a fun fact for the day. Llamas is going for a refinery and a war factory. This is looking darn right normal for game number 3. We needed a couple of aggressive games to kick us off here in Group E, but now we're going to calm things down just a little bit. And look, I went with best of 5 as a series length, because best of 3s can just be so short. In Command & Conquer, our game times are generally a little bit shorter. I mean, over in the MOBA world, sometimes you're looking at an average game length of 30 minutes. So a best of 5 takes quite a long while. But we got a 2-minute, 30-second game. If you do 3 of those, we can have a cool best of 5 wrapped up in 7.5 minutes. And that's fine by me, sometimes. But that's not the only thing I want to see, because we've got ourselves a macro game to enjoy. So it's nice to mix things up. We've seen a couple of different factions from these players, and now we get to see a different play style with them both deciding gentleman's agreement, no attack for the first 2 minutes and 30 seconds. APCs are crossing the map. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Goes for the 5th as well, sells off the barracks, and we'll send the riflemen over there. Ooh, the APC didn't take the perfect route to pick them up, but I think it will be okay. How many rockets we got inside of here? Is it 4 rockets, or is it 3? On the side of Buka, he went full 4 rockets, so this is a fairly expensive attack. It is not an all-in commitment by any means. You can follow this up with a natural expansion very easily. You can indeed do a lot of damage, but most of the time we just see this result in light trading. Occasionally some amazing mine drops come in, and occasionally a harvester kill or 2. But most of the time that we see this 4 or 5 APC attack, it doesn't result in any big damages one side or the other. All right, 1 APC goes down, one rocket squad as well. Takes a little bit of the punch out of this attack, but are the Harvesters going to be ready for the descents that are coming in? Because Llamas was only trying to lull us all into a false sense of security. The nice warm blanket of macro had been placed over us, but it was a trap. It was actually a pillow to the face, and he's leaning in hard because these descents, they're speedy boys, but they also are, I guess, not being produced anymore. So no refinery at the natural expansion. That is why Llamas moved his MCV over there at a very normal timing, and Buka saw that, but he also saw no refinery at the natural. Mine drops can wreck. Well, actually, he didn't even need it. They can wreck disintegrators as long as you've got maybe 2 APCs with riflemen and you are good at kiting. You can pretty much hold off a nearly infinite number of disintegrators. Well, you can't hold off a nearly infinite number of defensive turrets, but you can do some good damage to the disintegrators. And in this case, outranging the disintegrators as they try to run away is a good way to cut down your opponent's numbers. Now, behind all of this, it's 10 Harvesters to 9. So Llamas hasn't been slouching on the Harvester production, but Gunwalkers don't typically fare very well versus Predator Tank and APC. It's a classic combination for a reason. Disintegrators coming in from the left side. They do manage to grab a couple of these APCs, doing some big damage with Vine Drops, equally returning that damage, killing off Gunwalker after Gunwalker, and it's some heavy losses on both sides. But of course, Buka is the one who got the refinery up and running, so he is up 10k in total resources gathered, although maybe that can equalize if these disintegrators finally get the kills that they've been looking for all game long. They have been seeking out those big shots, those big deaths, but they only find the death for themselves as APMO finishes up. These APCs get a big upgrade, and Llamas' units get a big downgrade from invasion force to dishonoring the home world as the Orca Strike comes in and tags that refinery. Disintegrators bunching up. When you see someone attacking the ground like that, they are force firing the disintegrators to get them to all group together and bunch up. It is a sort of burst damage technique to allow the disintegrators to come together as a group and allow them to close the distance and burst down a target quickly. This is a lot of APCs. I mean, technically, this is a Pred APC army, but it's a lot more APC than it is Predator Tank. And behind all of this, Buka, who has a very healthy 10 Harvester count, can very easily go to the third base, expand behind this while tearing apart the base of Llamas. And Llamas is going to make him fight for it every inch. Gunwalkers may be outmatched, outgunned, and outnumbered, but they're still going to fight until the very bitter end. Gunwalker after Gunwalker just getting blasted by the defense forces of Earth, and there is no stopping the GDI. The invasion has failed. You better find a new tactic, because here on Tournament Odyssey, it's just not gonna work. It would be truly amazing if Llamas managed to find some way to come back from this position. He does have a nerve center, so he can deploy anti-air defenses, but that's a tough fight. Even railguns coming in. This is a sign of a good player. They don't slouch when they're ahead. They still keep powering forward. The third base coming online for Buka. Railguns, the late game upgrades all being ticked off. Sometimes players, when they're in a winning position, will slouch. They'll get lazy, and that can give a comeback opportunity to their opponent. But in this case, Buka did find the path to victory, and he stayed on that path, never giving Llamas a chance in game number 3. But we all know how game number 2 went, so let's see if Llamas can hit back and send us to the ace match. And now we're in the Badlands for game number 4. It's do or die for Llamas. He is down 1-2. Which means that Buka, the blue GDI, is on the verge of advancing into the next round of the Group E. The last qualifier. Oh, he's doing it again. You just can't stop this guy. You think he's gonna like take it easy and chill a little bit in game number 4, but to be honest, that was just a tactic to confuse his opponent. And I guess if you're gonna go for this kind of a portal all in, well, no, he didn't. He just went one single portal. For a second, I thought maybe he forgot the fast leg upgrade because none of the units were moving, so of course they didn't have the glowing legs. And when they're not moving, they don't look visually any different whether they have the upgrade or not. It's only until they start moving and you see how fast those legs go that you know whether or not they got the upgrade. APC, is that what he's waiting for to guide this engineer over to the tip spike? I think the engineer could have made it to the tip spike in time, but no matter. It's going to be Disintegrators going for the middle of the map tip spike, the one that is farthest away from the base, that is easiest to kill, I should say. As the APC comes out, and well, in a verse nod game, those Tiberium refineries would be very suspect for a catalyst missile. The refinery might actually be under threat. We'll see if the crushes come off. It may kill a harvester with the crush regardless, and it's going to be Disintegrators gunned down by the riflemen of the GDI, but not before one harvester goes down. And the Disintegrators being that sort of double-edged sword, where if you want to just gun them down from a distance, it takes longer, but then if you go for the crush, especially with a harvester, the Disintegrators do damage when they get crushed. So your harvester is literally losing HP as it's eliminating these high damage units. It is a lose-lose for the harvester in that situation, unless you've got enough harvesters to actually absorb the damage. And the buzzers of Llamas have finally been sent home from the corner of the map, so Buka can safely grab that Tiberium spike. Gets it there. Finally back up to 2 Tiberium spikes for Buka. Llamas should be rocking the 3. Yeah, he's rocking the 3 quite nicely. All right, here's the move to the natural. Is it real? All right, it could be real. He is building something rather quickly. It could be another triple portal kind of a situation. There's one. All right, Llamas, you're not fooling anyone. If he goes into a regular macro game after this, that's going to be... that might actually be like the best fake out ever. Ooh, always frustrating when this happens. You think you clicked on a Tiberium crystal, you think your harvester is working away, grabbing you that beautiful, wonderful blue Tiberium, and your harvester is just sitting there being useless. It is 7 harvesters to 7 harvesters. Okay, never mind. Llamas adds 2, Buka adds 2. It's 9 harvesters to 9 harvesters. But one of Llamas's is not working and hasn't been working for probably a minute now. So that is a full 60 seconds, a quarter of the game's current runtime, with this harvester just doing nothing. He's supposed to be getting that wonderful blue Tiberium, and he's just sitting there, useless as anything. And this is quite a big Tiberium field that you've got at your natural expansion. So it's always nice when you're Scrin, when you can maximize that income. Well, maximize your income or kill your opponent's income. They're kind of the same thing, as 2 harvesters go down and Buka takes some economic damage here in game number 4. Is that a 3rd dead harvester? Not quite for free, as every single Disintegrator will go down, but that is what Llamas was looking for. He manages to get the kill on 3 harvesters, and his own natural expansion is looking good. Blue Tiberium Harvester finally went to work. Natural expansion is well set up. And now here in game number 4, Llamas leading the total resources gathered by 6 grand. He's got that 6 grand advantage over his opponent. 11 harvesters to 7, and this is a Scrin player who can long distance harvest quite easily. He can drop a 3rd refinery at his natural expansion, and the disintegrators can be given away because Llamas has 11k in the bank, 12 grand sitting there waiting to be spent. You might as well drop a quadruple portal and just pour out disintegrators onto the front line. It's a fully heroic squad. He's gone purple as he gets a full rank up here, maximizing his damage and maximizing his potential to amortize the cost and take it to the GDI. He's trying to buzzword his way to victory, and it is actually a triple portal behind all of that. I was kind of kidding, but also you got to spend the 12 grand somehow, so you might as well like dump it into tripods or dump it into disintegrators, dump it into something. And yeah, going for the aircraft, going for Devastator warships is another good option here for Llamas, but you got to spend that cash on something, and you want to spend it quick so that you can hit your opponent hard. In this case, it's an attack at the natural expansion, but it's a sneaky attack here at the MCV. Catch and kill, no capture and release here. That's a dead MCV headed for a 3rd base, but it's not the end of the road because it's the multi-MCV life for Buka. He's also got a harvester just sitting around doing nothing, but he's at least dealing with 2 attacks, 1 at the main, 1 at the natural, and that's a GG getting cold, and Llamas does it with the aggressive play, with the aggressive opener into the big eco play, into the non-stop parade push aggression there for Cold Operator, aka Llamas, and that sends us into the ace match, game number 5. And who even cares about anything, because these players don't when they're selecting maps, because in the north, playing the blue, this is Buka, playing that GDI on Tournament Oasis, a map that isn't even in the map pool for this event. Meanwhile, in the south, playing the green, it's Llamas. These guys out here just playing joke games, pretending that they're real, pretending that they count. That's the thing is, we do have a map, Arabian Oasis, which is in the map pool, and I'm guessing these guys just confused the two in the moment. So we'll see how it turns out here for Buka, who chose this map trying to pick Arabian Oasis and then ended up on Tournament Oasis. So we'll see if he's able to make it work. This is one of those maps that has 3 fields per player. You got the tib spike kind of there in the middle. In a lot of ways, it feels like a hodgepodge, an amalgamation of sort of every community made map. It's got a lot of the design features, and it feels like it's like the exact average if you take all of the different map makers who have made these maps over the years. Predator, Technique, the other guys that I'm not thinking of. Actually, I think Desolator Trooper is one of them as well, who's competing in this event. I believe he's made a number of maps. But you take a bunch of these maps created by community members over the years, which in a lot of ways are great maps, and you kind of mush them all together, it feels like you end up with Tournament Oasis. This map in the pool. Blue Tiberium in the middle. Little bit of breakup, some nice visual design. Couple of Arabian Oases here out in the desert. And then, of course, the double tip spike for each player. And this is, so far, a normal looking game. Who would have thought that we could see it? But now, with the tournament life on the line, Llamas decides to just straighten things out a little bit, play a bit more normal and less all-out aggression. Although I shouldn't say that until the refinery is actually deployed at the natural expansion. There it is. We have our 3rd refinery on the map for Llamas. So this game could go the distance. We could go full late game macro mode for both players instead of, you know, like a rushed tech or anything like that. 8 harvesters for both players. Nice, comfortable spot for the 3-minute mark as both players are putting just enough units out onto the field that they don't get surprised by anything, but not so many units onto the field that they're going to be much of a threat to their opponent. A couple of gunwalkers, not that big of a deal. A couple of APCs, not that big of a deal. But maybe this is where the divergence lies. It is into a command post on the north side of the map and into a 4th refinery on the south side of the map. So that AP ammo is already halfway done, but it's a 4th refinery follow-up. So sometimes what you'll see is someone get a little bit trigger happy and go for a multi-airfield play, but you do burn a lot of cash when you're going double airfields, especially if you want a lot of hammerheads. But not so the case here for Buka. He deploys that command post. He wants AP ammo. He wants it at a good time. 4 minutes 20. That is a nice, fast AP ammo that finishes up. This is going to be a little bit telling to Llamas. If he realizes the timing of that AP ammo, he will realize that his opponent's economy has to be a little bit slow by comparison, but I don't know that that's a big enough realization to really do anything about it. Llamas didn't have so much of an opportunity that he would have been like, oh, you are missing this huge chunk of your army and now I can go kill you. It's like, oh man, you realize that there was a little bit of an opportunity and now that door has pretty much shut. Harvester may be making its way back to the Blue Tiberium for Buka, who is going to be getting an airfield, is going to be eventually getting his second war factory there, and is now going for a mid-game vehicle push, a classic GDI APC Pred tank combo. Of course, AP ammo finished up, gives the extra kill ability for these APCs, and it's going to be needed. Hammerheads as well. We got a couple of cultists out on the field, and the tier 3 has now arrived. So we can see the dance of the Mechapeds. We can see the push towards the Eradicator Hexapod as well. And it looks like Buka is going for the 3rd base behind all of this, staying very close in total resources gathered with the Scrin player. Only 4 grand behind in total resources gathered. And that's spread across the 6 minutes of the game time. So overall, Buka doing an extremely good job of staying on top of his own economy, matching the economy of the Scrin player for all intents and purposes. And, well, you may be matching the economy, but you can't match the mind control of Traveler 59, especially with the fast leg upgrade. These cultists can be extremely difficult to deal with. One advantage is if you got 40 APCs and the other guy only has 6 cultists, you can kind of just run the other 34 APCs right past the cultists and blast them to smithereens. You don't have to worry about the mind control if you can just gun down the other guy. I said 40 APCs, meaning to be an exaggeration. We might actually be getting up towards 40 legitimate APCs out on the map here. We got 42 units on the count for Buka, and a lot of them are APCs, so he is rapidly approaching 40 APCs worth of units. A bunch of hammerheads are also going to be crossing over. Here's the cultists. Is the micro good enough? It feels like this is not enough cultists for how much anti-infantry firepower is in this army. Hammerhead's going to be rolling up as well. Eradicator Hexpod is out here on the map, and the cultists have shot their shot, but it's not quite enough. It's going to be up to the shock troopers and the gunwalkers to really save the day, and the gunwalkers are all that's standing. The shock troopers get eliminated, and now the cultists come in for round 2, but maybe this is all just buying time for the Eradicator Hexapod. He's out on the field stomping his way around, but is he actually going to make it to the fight in time? This is versus a GDI player who can get railguns, who can get EMP grenades, who can get shockwave artillery, as Buka has 5 grand in the bank and 18k per minute, 10 grand more total resources gathered than his opponent, and he's trashing the main base looking for more. This is a Pred APC army that can go the distance. Eradicator steps forward. This guy has 3 shock troopers inside of him, and he is going to be blasting away at this GDI army. You really don't want to be taking on an Eradicator with Corruptors behind it with Pred APC. If you don't have railguns, if you don't have if you don't have EMP, it is going to be a tough fight to win. You always got to avoid the stomp of that Eradicator. Hammerheads pretty much all cleaned up. There are 3 Hammerheads out on the field at this time. Phase only lands on 1 Harvester. And of course, Harvesters can keep working through the phase. One of the great advantages of a Harvester is that they can work through the phase. Not again. Ooh. That MCV almost getting caught by the Eradicator. Even though he deployed, he may still get caught as the Bloodhounds get dropped off. The anti-air gets set up, and this MCV is under threat. It might just be dead, let alone under threat. It's just going down, and you better hope that you've got a good refund policy on that MCV. But it's gone. It is done and dusted. As the army moves across the map, the Eradicator Hexpod is the majority of the army for the Scrin player. So wherever it is not, there is just almost nothing there in its place. 1 Corruptor, 1 Storm Column. Truly not the game-ending force that you would hope if you're the Scrin player. Buka has been out-ecoing Llamas for most of this game, and now you see it working its magic here on the front line. If it's a base race you want, it's a base race you'll get. But the GG comes out, and Llamas doesn't give us the final fight with the Eradicator. That's it. It's done. It's over. Buka advances into the next round. And of course, we're back on Tournament LA for another game number 1, a fresh best of 5. And this time, it's featuring the green Traveler 59. We got there eventually. This is Desolator Trooper. I don't know why, but I almost called him Steel Talons, which is perhaps the opposite of Traveler 59. But who is in the south?
Over in the southern section of the map, wearing the pink, rocking the black hand, this is Svensson. And I have definitely made that mistake a couple of times for some reason with Desolator Trooper as well, where I have called him Steel Talons. But in my defense, I have cast a lot of Steel Talons game, and I hyper fixate on pointing out that the player named Steel Talons plays Steel Talons. And so I say Steel Talons a lot, so that might be part of that as well.
It's always nice when those things line up that way. But welcome once again to Korak. As he referenced there, you've been casting more Chrono Clash II than I have. You have the insane idea to try and cast as much, to try and 100% as much of the group stage as you possibly can, which is just a ton of games. So if you guys have been missing out on some of the Chrono Clash action from Chrono Clash II, then check out Korak's channel. It'll be linked in the description. And here we are, Tournament LA. Everything is looking normal so far.
Nothing unusual yet from either player, no big sell-offs, and I think you were telling me before in our previous cast that this is a good map for, say, like players like Bike Rush, players who favor those all-ins to make their way across the map, especially when Kane's Wrath was closer to relatively new. And I've seen a lot more stable openers, a lot more traditional openers from almost everyone, especially as the tournament seems to progress. Everybody seems to be cautious and worrying about a couple of things here and there and just wanting to play their cards right.
I mean, this is Traveler 59, so there can be some sneaky stuff that happens around the natural expansion. It doesn't look like Desolator Trooper is going for like a double portal stasis drop at the natural or anything. It looks like he is going for just a refinery, which does indicate all signs point towards macro game for now.
And Nod definitely, or sorry, Black Hand definitely hasn't done anything sneaky yet on his side. He does have double War Factory, and he's got a good number of bike and buggy out and ready to go. But the answer to that really is going to be the Seeker tanks here in the center. However, they are a bit outnumbered, and it looks like the micro is a bit here for Svensson. Svensson's doing a good job of sending in his Raider buggies to absorb most of the shots and continue to back in and out his volleys for his attack bikes.
Also stacking up the damage there as a couple of his Seeker tanks line up nicely with the Harvester, so Svensson gets the double damage, and there he kills the blue Tiberium Harvester. Desolator Trooper behind the scenes has actually grabbed the EMP control center, so the sad thing is he may not be in this game long enough to actually utilize it, but if he does get the chance, then maybe there will be a shot to save him coming in later in this game. And the big army punch from Svensson has been working out great so far. More Seeker tanks done. The Disintegrators come in, but they are slow descents, and they're going to be slowly watching these Harvesters die one by one.
Desolator Trooper definitely losing lifeline after lifeline. However, if this goes on for long enough and he can mitigate his losses, he can begin to turn around. Just as say that as another Harvester does get taken down. Svensson just finding amazing value in these attack bikes, going from the center, going to the main base, and actually throwing in the towel. Desolator Trooper already giving it up.
Cadian, aka Svensson, taking game number 1 with the aggressive Black Hand play. Not much grows in the desert, but the desert is where Desolator Trooper is going to have to find a victory. Because if you go down 0-2 in a best of 5, well, things just get harder from there. Well, it may be a quick one sooner or later because both players are playing Skrin, and Svensson is going aggressive once again. This did not end well for Desolator Trooper in game number 1. We'll see if he's able to handle the aggression better here.
It looks like Svensson really wants to get this over with as quickly as possible, or maybe he's worried about getting Desolator Trooper into the late game, because this is basically the second rush that he's done so far. That double War Factory and just mass producing those units was sort of a later rush, but he's already started off into a quicker one here with these Disintegrators. Disintegrators already making their way over to both sides of the map. Looks like he's going for the easier targets, going for that Tiberium Spike on the right-hand side, while this left-hand side is beginning to move their way in.
Ooh. Yeah, and Desolator Trooper has fallen for the trap. He actually goes Nerve Center. He goes Corruptor out just in time. I thought it was a trap of distraction. I thought Svensson had pulled off the perfect look at me over here on the right side while going for your Harvesters on the left side, but it doesn't actually happen because Desolator Trooper rushed to the Nerve Center and got the Corruptor. And surprisingly, the Harvesters are safe for the first 2 minutes of the game. Svensson's rush has failed.
Corruptor doing a fantastic job of basically hitting the pest inside of his base and outside of his base with the bug spray over and over, just absolutely wiping them out. And Svensson really did want to set the tempo in his favor, and he gambled and lost. He was able to get a Tiberium Spike like we saw over there, but it looks like Desolator Trooper was really on top of it this time around. Hopefully that bodes well for him as the game progresses, but I doubt Svensson is out of tricks just quite yet.
And that's a good point, that maybe one reason why Desolator Trooper, why Svensson is going aggressive against Deso is that he doesn't want to play Deso in the late game, which could be that Svensson, you know, fancies himself an aggressive early game player better than a late game player, or it could be that he fears Desolator Trooper in the late game. Either one could be the case, but I think he was just wanting to get the early win. And I don't think I actually mentioned it properly, but it is Reaper 17 versus Traveler 59, so it is the battle of the sub-factions of the Skrin. We don't have any vanilla Skrin, we don't have Nod or GDI, it is aliens all the way, but it's the battle of the subs.
And despite Svensson starting off with that rush, if you're looking at the economy right now, Svensson's ahead, actually, for Desolator Trooper. Desolator Trooper didn't have a lot of disruption other than losing that Tiberium Spike, which will have an impact, but Svensson is almost about 1.5k above.
And it's resulting in fast tier 3. So you mentioned the economy, and part of the reason why is that Deso Trooper has gone for pure tech. He has gone basically one base tier 3, and he is straight into upgrades as well. So this is a lot of infrastructure spending and not a lot of army.
And that's definitely not the case for Svensson. Svensson's already got a healthy number of Shard Walkers and Seeker Tanks with his double Warp Sphere out. So indeed, he is going for that little bit of a later game rush that he did the last time, but with a different faction. And I don't think Desolator Trooper really has the forces quite yet. However, there is at least one Mechapede, which can be used quite well, but it's going to purely based off of that microing.
Desolator Trooper has to hold absolutely everything. It is a tough mid-game punch from Reaper 17, a faction that in many ways specializes in these big ground punches. Shard launchers and Seekers moving closer and closer to that tier 3. They finally started attacking it, and they've realized the kind of error that Deso has made. Slowfield comes in. That may actually save the tier 3. Will the reinforcements arrive in time? Because Desolator Trooper just has so little production. Despite the high tech, despite the advantage in infrastructure, it just has such little production at every stage of this game. Storm Column is the best hope for survival, and the tier 3 gets saved. The portal comes in as well for Deso Trooper, and Svensson, he strikes hard and he strikes fast, but he hasn't won the game yet.
Svensson definitely trying everything he can to keep the tempo in his favor. Those Mechapedes are going to be quite the trouble to overcome, but he keeps losing Mechapede after Mechapede. Not sure where the Corruptor made its way off to, but these Seeker Tanks are going to do plenty of damage. Disintegrators moving their way in. Svensson just extremely difficult to lodge from the base of Desolator Trooper. Desolator Trooper losing a Harvester, increasing the economic gains of Svensson.
It's a tough world out here if you're a harvester. It is a tough life for Desolator Trooper harvesters in particular. They keep getting sent into the front line with no guns and no anything. No protection even. Finally, the first tripod steps out onto the field, and Deso Trooper pushes Svensson back. But the damage has been done. It's 8 harvesters to 5. Tech versus Eco.
I have seen a couple of times where production can beat Eco, but I don't think I've seen too many times when Eco is beaten by tech instead. It seems to favor, in my opinion, it seems to favor the economics. Lightning Spike is going to take a couple of really good shots off at the stasis field, but it looks like the tripod is going to make its way in and take it out before any real damage, or at least before it can go down. That is going to cost even more money there to Desolator Trooper. Desolator Trooper is going to have quite a hard time keeping up with his opponent because of those economic leads that we have. His really only advantage is that tech. If he can get a couple of really good tripods out and ready to go, I think that's probably his best bet in order to move forward, his best bet in order to push Svensson back. But I think, though, one of the key linchpins for this fight is going to be when both players transition into that third expansion.
Svensson evens up the technology game. It's tier 3 versus tier 3, but Deso Trooper hasn't evened up the economic game. 20k ahead in total resources gathered is Svensson, and his army value 10k ahead that of Deso Trooper. So it is an uphill battle for sure for Desolator Trooper, especially if he loses this game number 2. He's going to be down 0-2 in a best of 5. There's nothing more to give after that. It's going to be a double-pronged attack here as a couple of Seeker Tanks make their way into the main base of Deso Trooper, and Svensson gets pushed away at the natural expansion. I guess this is fine for now, but I don't think it's getting any easier for Deso Trooper.
Desolator Trooper just cannot keep a single harvester alive. He's having such a difficult time. He is managing to finally harvest that field, and he's getting great value out of these tripods, but the problem with the tripods is they can't be everywhere at once. A couple of cultists are going to move their way in, but I think the favor really is still in Svensson. He's looks like he's going pretty heavily into the Mechapedes over on the right-hand side of the map. Not sure what his next transition is going to be. I think that's going to be the primary thing to watch out for. I feel like his best strategy would be to continue these overwhelming tactics, because he's managing to get little bits of Desolator Trooper over and over between those assaults, you know, and you might as well capitalize on your numbers.
The cultists, if they find the right mine caps, they can absolutely turn a fight around. But if they run into 5 or 6 mechapeds at once, you only got one cultist to mind control one mechapede at a time. Warp Chasm out on the field. The Eradicator Hexapod countdown has begun, and the Prodigy gets annihilated. The Tripod is next to follow, and even the Stasis Shield will lock down the Eradicator. He couldn't even cancel it by just going for the tier 3 on the right side. It's a tough life for Deso Trooper, not just for the Harvesters, but for everything in his army. And these may be aliens fighting on Earth, but Desolator Trooper is going to be staying here in the dirt.
Stasis Chamber gets targeted. Stasis Chamber goes down. A couple of mechapedes here for Desolator Trooper are going to make their way in. Somehow he manages to live significantly longer than I thought he was going to. T3 is getting targeted, and I think that Eradicator Hexapod is nowhere near close to done. I think this is all but over for Desolator Trooper. That's probably the final nail in his coffin. There is the fire cell, and I think he's going to throw in the towel, and indeed he has. The GG comes out, and Desolator Trooper and now has a 2-0 disadvantage.
Svensson makes his place known here in Group E and advances to match point. It's been a fast and furious series thus far, and Svensson is happy to be here in game number 3 on match point. It is all uphill for Desolator Trooper. He can do it, but it is a difficult thing to reverse someone 3-0 from this position. It feels like Svensson, he's been winning the early game, and he's been winning the late game as well. He just feels a little bit too powerful for Deso Trooper in this series.
I think one of the key things the Desolator Trooper could capitalize on here that I don't see Kane's Wrath players do quite as much, and maybe it's because I'm coming from a couple of other RTS titles, but I feel like the scouting is not quite where it needs to be. There's a couple of times where he could have sent a couple of scouts in to see what Svensson was up to and to see the transition. And even if they got caught halfway over there, it would buy him just a little bit of time. Actually getting a little bit of sneakiness over here for Desolator Trooper. Desolator Trooper has a operations center out and ready to go. He hasn't done a full all-in. He hasn't sold his construction yard, but there's the first flame tank out and ready to go. It looks like he's going to try to turn things on their head. He's going to be the early rush. He's going to be the early aggressor. And it looks like he was able to hear me because he's got a couple of good scouts in there, and he can see what his opponent already has to go. Flame tank about halfway there on its route, and probably another flame tank on the way. It looks like that is indeed going to be the case.
It is a tough thing to want to play a macro game for the first time and then your opponent rushes you. But we can forgive Deso Trooper for doing that because he got rushed twice in a row. And we'll see how Svensson is able to defend against it. The defense just isn't here at all. First Refinery getting targeted. Pitbull even sent in the wrong direction. So one Refinery is down. Second Flame Tank may even find the MCV at the natural expansion in 30 or 40 seconds. War Factory doesn't go down, but the Reckoner may be able to find a better position and find a bit more damage. He gets body blocked actually by those pit bulls. It's only one single black hand inside of that Reckoner, so it's not going to burn down the War Factory all that quickly. It is a tough fight to lose a refinery, but at least Svensson has got the better positioning with being able to knock down this Reckoner. Finally, it goes down. Second. Uh-oh. Desolator Trooper just walked that flame tank into the known position of those pit bulls.
softer target definitely would have been that almost completely undefended war factory there in the south, because I think what you notice from a couple of these higher skilled players is they very much favor the I'm attacking over here, the look over here tactic, and it has a great effect in Kane's Wrath, and there's plenty of fast units that allow you to do that. And I thought that's what he was doing with the Reckoner. I thought he was sending the Reckoner in so he could focus on the war factory in the south, so he could focus on that expansion in the south, but he did not take the opportunity. I believe he did have it scouted out, but he just for some reason chose not to take that opportunity.
Might have been a bit of a misclick there by Desolator Trooper, and then he realizes, oh, the flame tank is already in this bad spot. I can't really save it from this point. And the unfortunate thing, once again, is that Svensson is up 6 Harvesters to the 4 of Deso Trooper. So Deso Trooper goes for the rush, hurts his opponent's economy a little bit, but not enough to make up for the damage he did to his own economy.
Svensson has seemed like he's very powerful here on the economic front, at least into Desolator Trooper for the current moment. Couple of man spam going to make their way into the center of the map, but the answer is going to be these APCs, is going to be these watchtowers, and they have the defender's advantage, so they can continue to back their way into the war factory and get more and more reinforcements. So Desolator Trooper sort of just left here holding the bag, trying to figure out some sort of value for these units, and he might go for the Tiberium Spike, which wouldn't be a bad idea, because not only destroying it would be helpful, but it could also give you a little bit of tempo maybe in your favor, and the response is already going to be here from a couple of APCs as they move their way in.
Probably would have had to go for the Tib Spike right from the beginning instead of engaging the APCs at the War Factory, but you live and learn. Unfortunately, Desolator Trooper, if he doesn't start learning a bit sooner, is going to be out of chances here in Chrono Clash 2. This is round 1 of Group E. So it would be unfortunate to drop out here, but one of these players is going home. And so far, Svensson is looking good. He pushes back the Flame Rush, rebuilds the refinery at the main base, gets a refinery at the natural expansion. He's teching up, he's researching AP ammo. Things are looking nice for Svensson.
Vincent also doing a really good job of not tilting, not having any sort of issues with his own personal morale when he lost that refinery. That's definitely got a sting. He was able to recover himself over time. Scorpion tanks are going to be the answer here to these APCs. APCs are going to have a hard time dealing with them overall, but I think they have the numbers, and there's probably AP ammo there on the background as the Scorpion tanks actually have to retreat. One does get targeted, but it looks like they're focusing on the primary target, which are indeed going to be these cheap rocket squads. Couple of tanks do join the fray as well. There's the AP ammo for the APCs, which means they're going to be even more effective. Mine drop there on a majority of those Scorpion tanks, so they move their way forward. They're going to have quite the problem to deal with, and now the Harvesters get targeted once again.
Desert Trooper's eco is actually okay. If he would have had another 30 or 40 seconds to prepare for this attack, he might have been able to hold it off without quite as many losses. It's mostly army trading for army. Fortunately for Desolator Trooper, not any Harvester deaths there, and he didn't lose any critical infrastructure either. So the flame tank on the... Where did that flame tank go? Oh, no, he sent it right through the front door again. The natural expansion under threat. It's going to be a flame tank in the base of Svensson. Finally, Desolator Trooper gets the flame tank positioning that he wanted. Oh, no, it's happening again. Korak, it's happening again. The saddest flame tank you've ever seen.
Desolator Trooper's definitely got to be feeling it. It sounds like he is under a lot of pressure, and maybe it's starting to affect his performance. I've seen him in other games, and he seems to perform significantly better, and I've seen him in other games with Svensson. So I think maybe the fact of all the money on the line, the tournament on the line, the casting of his potential mistakes might be weighing on him. He did get an upgrade over here for the Scorpion tanks and giving themselves a little bit more armor, which will help with the Predator tanks unless the Predator tanks upgrade into the railguns. Svensson also being the first to capitalize on the blue Tiberium in the center of the map, grabbing that with almost a full load ready to go. Forces are in full effect for Desolator Trooper. He's got a healthy number of units here out and ready to go, and it looks like he's using everything he can. His formations are significantly tighter than you normally see. Assault and beginning in earnest. There's the one click. There's the decoy army to absorb a bunch of these shots, but the Hammerheads here are going to do a good number of damage, splash damage there for the Sam Turks, pushing the Hammerheads out as the APCs begin their assault on all of these rocket squads. Those rocket squads need to go down as quickly as possible, and I think he definitely has the numbers. Svensson doing a fantastic job. Microwave moving in and out, hammer and anvil with his air forces. There might be the nail in the coffin for this assault as the Purifier marches its way through. You need a couple of really good shots off. However, the Hammerheads can take it out rather quickly if they're not careful. Sam Turret trying to do everything it possibly can to save these units. More and more Hammerheads going down left and right. Is this Desolator Trooper opportunity to turn it around? He's got very little in the gas tank, but if his opponent continues to make these mistakes, he can begin to capitalize on it and he can turn things around. Maybe this is his chance.
Oh, that Purifier's so close to death. Tibcore saves it just in time. Hammerheads splashing down onto the ground, raining debris upon the Nod forces. And the answer, I guess, is just more flames. Purifiers, Black Disciples, and Flame Tanks for Deso Trooper. Manages to hold off that attack. That was definitely dicey. Svensson had perhaps a better army if the engagement was a little bit different. If the angles weren't as good for Desolator Trooper, if the unit comp was a little bit more spread out, it could have been divided and conquered. But Deso Trooper keeps a tight defense and he pushes that attack back very nicely. The, of course, worry is always the future. Svensson on that third base in the south.
Desolator Trooper doing a fantastic job at commanding his troops there, and his placement of that SAM turret I don't think was random whatsoever. That definitely felt a little bit more calculated. I was probably wishing it was a little further over to the right, though. Mantis tanks do finally move their way in, but not before Harvester does get taken down. Like I was saying before, though, the placement of that SAM turret and the placement of the units, he had a better concave despite his opponent having that better force. Flame Tank in the north getting to pick on at least one of the buildings, a little bit of the infrastructure, and they might actually be able to take and go for the airfield. Is this his opportunity to redeem himself? Maybe not. It did get a war factory, but it was not able to take out those airfields.
Unfortunately for Deso Trooper, he found the mostly empty main base of Svensson and not the key technology, not the future expansion down there at the third. Curiously, Deso Trooper has actually gone for a Temple of Nod. He is actually hoping to play this one out super late with the nuke. 6 minutes on the clock before it even can be used.
He's definitely against that. Svensson that is definitely against a bit of a ticking time clock, but I think he still has time to play around with this. He has a significant number of forces out on the field, and he can afford these trades because he's still very far ahead of Desolator Trooper on the economic fronts. We do have a Redeemer making its way in. It should be able to get a good Rage Gen off, which should help even up this up if it can. Couple of APCs going down over here in the forward engagement, but Desolator Trooper not wanting to fully commit to this assault.
And the fortunate thing for the Black Hand is that Zocom don't have railgun upgrades. So this Redeemer, oh, he does get locked down. The EMP lands. And, well, the Predator tanks may not have boosted damage, but there's still quite a few Predator tanks. And if the EMPs could be chained, then they can still knock down that Redeemer, no problem. Down to half health. And there's sniper teams to deal with everything on the ground. Fresh reinforcements coming in for the Zocom player. And the Redeemer is left all alone. Where are your friends? They all came out to play, but they went home early. And someone called Kane because the faithful are being put in the dirt. They're 6 feet under and they can't save the Messiah.
The forces for Svensson are continuing their assault. He can afford these trades because of those economic gains. He's just capitalized on them so well. And Desolator Trooper hasn't even set up his natural expansion just quite yet. And I think he doesn't really have much to stop this rolling armor marching its way into it. Probably need to sell off the Redeemer engineering facility. I doubt you're going to get another Redeemer out, but I'm not sure if that's what he's got building in the background. It's going to go down rather quickly. He does sell it off there on the end, but only making a little bit of cash for him ready to go. He is setting up his natural expansion in this other section. He does have his refinery out, but that's not going to save his T3. It's not going to save his old base and probably the operations center. He's going to lose all of that there almost for free.
Vapor bomb on top of the army. You do what you can when it is your life on the line, when everything is down, and it may not save you, but at least you go down in style. Deso Trooper dropping the expensive one click. It's all he can do. And Svensson trying to target down those power plants before the SAM sites tear him to shreds. But it's literally 30k of army versus 0. Deso Trooper has functionally 0 units on the map.
He's definitely going with the mantra that I didn't hear no bell. Regardless if the bell was rung either way, he's going to have a hard time dealing with this. But it's not impossible, just extremely unlikely for him to turn this around. Like you said, there was about 30 or 40k in resources, in units out on the front line, while his opponent has next to nothing.
Deso Trooper's like in a full body cast in the hospital, and he's like, I didn't hear no bell, but he can't even move any of his body parts. He's just completely shut down. Surrounded, alone, and afraid, Hammerheads and Predator tanks will win the day as Deso Trooper puts up a good fight. And it's unfortunate that the chance that the game he had the best chance in was the one he went aggressive, but it was also the last game of the series because it was preceded by 2 previous wins by Cadian, aka Svensson. A sad day for Desolator Trooper.
He may have not won a point in that single series at all, but he won a point in my heart for sticking to his guns, for not giving up, and for continuing his efforts. And indeed, he did make a valiant effort there towards the end, and that was probably his best chance to turn things around. But unfortunately for him, Svensson was a bit better and came out on top.
And we are zooming to Tiberium Rift in round 3. The qualifying match, the final best of 5 in Group E for one of these players. In the north, playing the orange-black hand, this is Numbfish. Meanwhile, in the south, playing the pink Traveler 59 and going for a fast leg descent rush, this is GeoPennyP. Okay, it is a classic Traveler versus Black Hand here on Tiberium Rift. For now, the Disintegrators haven't been spotted. They might have just barely been tagged by that Cabal squad at the very, very edge of vision there, but they've mostly been unspotted. He can, of course, suspect this. Numbfish coming through with a couple of clean games in round 2 to end up versus GeoPennyP, and he's actually going off center as well. So I don't know if he was planning to do this from the beginning or if this was just his response to seeing those Disintegrators. But either way, Blackhand is going to be very good at dealing with Disintegrators as long as they get up close and personal. The Reckoner moves out for the current moment, and it is going to be a Flame Tank, and then there's this sell-off of that. This Flame Tank heads very far forward and is going to get grabbed by the Disintegrators, so that's the end of the Flame Tank rush, and the Ops Center has already been sold off, so there is not much else for this Flame Rush to do. Black Hand Squad will be able to clean up the Disintegrators, and that will be the end of both rushes. So that's kind of it. That is all you could ask for. And of course, the Reckoner can now come back. He picked up a Cabal squad right from the beginning, but that's not going to be doing very much. So he will turn around. Maybe he gets a Rocket squad, but no, he's not producing a Barracks to try and do something else. It's just going to be Cabal and Black Hand, which is not a Reckoner combination I think I've ever seen before, especially in a fast Ops Center Wreck Rush. But here we are. Weird things can happen in Chrono Clash II, of course, powered by Chronosphere. A huge thanks to Chronosphere for supporting Kane's Wrath and Command & Conquer in 2025, and for sponsoring this event, putting up the entire prize pool and budget for Chrono Clash II. Always awesome to have people and companies coming into our very old game that we love very much and the whole rest of the world has moved on from. So it's very nice to have them come in and support Command & Conquer in this way. Disintegrators getting tagged right as they spawn in. This one Confessor Cabal squad gets the kill on like 2.5 Descent squads. Okay, maybe not quite half, but 2 Descent squads there, and Seeker Tanks getting burned down in the north. Never fun when your Seeker Tanks are getting eliminated by Black Hand squads, but the Reckoner is at least being kept out of Geo's base, and this has been such a weird start for both players. It's turned into such a slow game for the first couple of minutes because both players cut Harvesters pretty significantly to pull off their early games, and it hasn't worked out for either one of them, although it feels like it's working out a bit better for Numbfish, who catches for like the 3rd wave of Disintegrators, catches them out in the middle of the map. This is just not going well for Geo. He has not really been able to do very much, unfortunately. He is trying to play off of one base. The Reckoner finally deploys, and it does still have a Black Hand squad inside of it, so this Gunwalker and the Seeker Tank are going to have their work cut out for it. This refinery might actually go down. Okay, there's the power plant block to save it, and there's the Buzzer Swarm, or the Buzzer Hive, getting called in to get a quick kill on the Black Hand. The power plant is going to be very close to death, but no, it does survive. Everything does make it there from Geo, but this again slows down his natural expansion even more. Numbfish, who is up to 7 Harvesters versus the 5 of Geo, is going to have that faster natural expansion. He's going more of the long-term play with establishing his economy, but Geo isn't getting very much out of this staying on one base situation. He does have the nerve center out, but that is not that much of an advantage for a Traveler who is down 5 Harvesters to 8, who's down 10k in total resources, who doesn't have a natural expansion versus the 2 refineries of his opponent. Having a nerve center doesn't really make up for all those things. It is Bike Buggy as the unit combination for Numbfish. He is moving out onto the map, and he has scouted that natural expansion timing. He might even try and move in to try and do some damage against the drone ship, but for now he's going to be trading out against the Disintegrators, against the Seeker Tanks. The Buggies take the front line, and they're going to be able to knock down all of the Disintegrators, so it's easy for the Bikes to swing in and kill off the 3-4 remaining units. More reinforcements coming in, and the Buggies are going to move back to the front line. And of course, while the Bikes are camping here, it is a death sentence to deploy anything. So that's it. That's the tap out. That's the GG. Geo Panipi decides to leave the game versus Numbfish. Game number 1 goes to the Fish, and it sends us to game number 2. And that'll send us to Tournament Odyssey for game number 2. In the north, switching it up to Black Hand. This is Numbfish. In the south, playing Zocom. This is Geo Panipi. He's actually switching it up, going from Traveler to Zocom for game number 2, while Numbfish stays with Black Hand 2 games in a row. Well, we'll see how it works out. Zocom versus Black Hand. We've seen quite a bit of Zocom in this tournament. I didn't actually post the games, but Numbfish versus Aquatech in the previous round ended up being Zocom mirrors all the way through, which was kind of fascinating. But Numbfish going for Black Hand. He is going to be very familiar with the Zocom side of things, especially having just played a set of Zocom mirrors. So I am curious what Geo plans to do. We have seen quite a bit of Zocom throughout this tournament. A surprising number also of Zocom mirrors throughout this tournament, but we, some players know how to play it particularly well, and then other players they played in a very similar style to GDI. So we'll have to see, do tip field suits come into this? Do the powerful infantry of Zocom make an appearance? And of course, we on the other side have very powerful infantry as well. Black Hand Squads, Confessor Cabals, the Black Disciple upgrade, and of course the coveted Purifying Flame. Black Hand has lots of options, but the Ops Center gets spotted right away. This is not the fastest flame tank possible. That hits about 30-40 seconds earlier. So in this case, it is double refinery into an Ops Center into the flame tank. So a very slow flame, quote-unquote, rush, if you want to even call it that, which is why it is spotted by a pit bull as it emerges from that war factory. And the flame tank isn't even rushing across the map or anything. There is actually a second flame tank as well. So this is not just one and done on the flame tanks. The second flame tank gets sent out. The Black Hand Squad is in the middle of the map. And I'm not sure what Numbfish's plan is here. He does have two flame tanks. I think they both were spotted. So in theory, this should be dealt with out in the open map. But maybe he's hoping that the pit bulls waste so much time chasing down these flame tanks that he's able to get the kills on the pit bulls. That could be the plan here. As one pit bull goes down, the flame tank down below half HP, and the garrison has been evicted. The scorpion tank's not able to close the distance on the pit bulls, so the first flame tank just sort of goes down for free, and the second flame tank is crossing the map. I don't know, a GDI player is always going to be happy to trade out one pit bull for one flame tank, but can you stop the scorpion tanks from clobbering your harvester? Double watchtower has been deployed. Harvester didn't get called off the line, so it is still here on the front line, but of course the pit bulls will respond. There's going to be the war factory for the repairs on that harvester, and if the scorpions want, they can dive on this harvester and get the kill. There's enough scorpion tanks. They would have to trade it back with a couple of units, but now they've bought space for the flame tank, who's moving into position to knock down the war factory, and that's going to be a dead WF on the front line. Even if the scorpion tanks have to finish it off, the war factory is gone. The predator tank gets surrounded, and this is now a perfect execution by Numbfish. He got just enough damage, and both of the flame tanks, one of the flame tanks made it to the natural expansion. If both of them had gone down, this would just be a regular scorpion tank attack at the expansion. But because the flame tank burned down that war factory, there are no repairs, there are no additional units onto the front line, and there was never a rocket squad response either. So it's just up to these predator tanks, and there is now going to be another war factory, but this one feels like too little too late. The scorpion tanks have hit a critical mass, and Numbfish pumps out the fast double war factory, and Numbfish takes game number 2. Geopanipi needs to turn things around in game number 3. And Tournament Undergrounds is a great place to start the comeback. In the bottom right-hand corner, playing the Cyan Nod, this is Geopanipi. Try a little of this, try a little of that, and completing his circuit of the 3 factions. Meanwhile, sticking with Blackhand, playing red on the left side, this is Numbfish. It is going to be a almost Nod mirror here in game number 3. Geopanipi went from Traveler to Zocom and now to Nod, which I guess if you were wanting to draw comparisons between the factions, you have the vanilla, and then if you want to, I would say it's Blackhand. Oh, see, now I'm second guessing myself. I was going to say Blackhand, Traveler, and Zocom, but it might actually be Marked of Kane, Traveler, and Zocom. And then Reaper 17 and Steel Talons match up nicely, but then I guess that would match them up with Marked of Kane if we go with Blackhand, Trav, and Zocom being kind of equals to each other. However, it's going to be Blackhand versus Nod. Stealth versus no stealth, but flame weapons available for both players. None of that Marked of Kane. Oh boy. None of that Marked of Kane Tiberium weaponry stuff. So interesting. Geopanipi goes for the 1 refinery. He does go 2 harvesters, but the 1 refinery, double war factory all in. One of probably the quintessential all-in in Kane's Wrath. This is maybe the equivalent of a Cannon Rush or some kind of all-in. I'm trying to think of actual all-ins in StarCraft. A lot of them are just like aggressive openers that transition into something, which this technically can be, but really only if you're Bike Rush. Most of the time, this is a game ender one way or the other. Geopanipi has been found out, though. Numbfish knows about this, and once again, the defense is looking fine. Even though there isn't a ton of rocket squads, he's got the Hand of Nod so he can build laser turrets, and Geopanipi is going to have a hard time cracking this base. It can be done, but as the game goes on, he actually got a third Harvester. So that is very curious that he decided to cut his bike production and go for that third Harvester. His engineer hasn't found anything just yet, and I think he'll keep it safe as it heads to this Tiberium spike. Numbfish will lose the Tib spike, and Geopanipi will gain an additional Tib spike. Is this an MCV rebuild? No, okay, he is going Scorpion tanks. It is not an MCV rebuild for the current moment, but Geopanipi is transitioning out of bikes into Scorpion tanks. He's not going to dive on any Harvesters just yet. And so far, he's only used this build to corral Numbfish and to steal his Tiberium spike. He hasn't accomplished anything yet. Maybe he can sneak out a power plant? He would have to commit either in towards this power plant or all the way down towards this more exposed power plant, but it's further behind enemy lines, so both of them have their risks. One buggy going for the scout. Numbfish is like, this is weird. This is a weird build. This is not how you normally play this out. One of the advantages that Blackhand has when doing this build is that they can send the Confessor Cabals along with the attack, and they get bonus damage because of that, because Confessor Cabals are so good. And that's going to be one Harvester down, so finally Geopanipi finds the kill. On the Nod side of things, though, you just have Nod Militants, which if you're fighting into a Blackhand player, the Militants will get clobbered by the Cabals. So this really is a weird place and time and way to do this build, but at least he's killed off one Harvester, so it's now 3 Harvesters to 3. Numbfish doesn't have that fourth Harvester advantage. He's got the second refinery, but he's going to have to waste the cash on an additional Harvester if he wants it, and it looks like Numbfish has sold off his MCV as well, so he commits into this. He's gone 2 war factories. He's not rebuilding any refineries, and he's probably not rebuilding Harvesters either, so now it becomes an equal match of defense. It is Scorp v Scorp, and both players are just waiting for the other one to attack into them. A couple of bikes committed into the attack on the left side of the map, and trying to thin out the numbers. Geopanipi wants to kill the bikes so he can kill the Harvesters, and now that the refinery has been sold off in the MCV as well, Geopanipi wants to do any permanent damage that is possible. On the other side, it's going to be Scorpion tanks getting pushed back. Geopanipi going to unintentionally create a sandwich for his own forces, where they are the ingredients and they are being sandwiched, but now it's going to be Scorp v Scorp. Geopanipi has been producing units from the Double War Factory for longer. He has the army advantage, but can he make it happen? The concave is good from Numbfish, who's getting lots of kills, who has the repairs and who has the reinforcements, but the numbers were on the side of Geopanipi, and they still are by 4 or 5 tanks. Are the reinforcements enough to offset that? For the current moment, no. The kills from Geopanipi are basically 1 for 1, so he maintains his advantage over Numbfish despite the reinforcements coming in faster for Numbfish. Geopanipi is slowly streaming tanks across the map to keep his numbers up. He started with the advantage, and it is starting to disappear, but the Harvesters don't have stealth, and they're having a hard time actually harvesting anything on the front line. line here. One harvester low on health, the other one down to half HP, and with the numbers advantage, GeoPanipi changes targets and still is able to return fire. And in this case, Numbfish has 2 war factories, but he can't produce off of both of them. He doesn't have the cash. He's only got a couple of dollars coming in from that tip spike, and this is going to be the end of the Scorpion tank battle as GeoPanipi has a 4-2 advantage. Maybe the juking is good enough. Maybe he can, oh, if he goes fully heroic, that could change things as GeoPanipi commits in for the dive and he gets the kill on that double vet tank, but it does cost him. The numbers are now equal, and that is going to be 2 tanks to 2 tanks as GeoPanipi brings in a third, and the bike comes in from that natural expansion location. A little bit of extra damage being added into this fight. GeoPanipi now losing the numbers advantage, getting pushed back, and that is okay. That's just a Cabal squad over there at the natural expansion. That would have been absolutely insane if Numbfish had been able to produce an MCV in all of that chaos. Killing the one harvester is nice. Losing the Tiberium spike back to the control of Numbfish hurts GeoPanipi, who is fighting for his tournament life on the line here. And Scorpion tanks moving back out across the map, but does Geo know about those bikes in the north? They are closing in. They might be finding the angle at the natural expansion to get the kill. A lot of cash in the bank for Numbfish, so despite the fact that he's got $3 grand in the bank, he doesn't have $3 grand of tanks out on the field to support it. And this is just gonna be 2 dead harvesters. That was a low health harvester that never got repairs, so Numbfish is now basically out of cash. He's got the tip spike, but he's got the GG as well. He taps out, and GeoPanipi keeps his hopes alive and puts a point on the board. He will not be clean swept in this series. He is going to a game number 4. And that sends us for another mirror matchup, this time on Tiki Turmoil. Which factions will be mirroring? What will the matchup be? In the north, playing the red-black hand, this is Numbfish. And that means that you know, playing the yellow-black hand in the south, this is GeoPanipi. Well, he found success with Nod in game number 3. He has stopped the bleeding, stopped the losing streak, and now we have a black hand mirror. Goes from Nod to black hand. No player has stealth this game, but both players have access to amazing flame options. We'll see if it's just another double war factory all in. If it is GeoPanipi thinking that, hey, the aggressive fast play is what won me the game. Here's another power plant, and it looks like it is going to be an MCV sell all in from GeoPanipi. There's the MCV, and the second, oh, the buggy kills that Cabal squad. I think he has enough vision. Technically, he did not see enough in the base to know that this is an all-in. That MCV is right in the danger zone. Like, technically, he may have seen the very edge of the MCV get sold off, but maybe not, as he is headed for the natural expansion. And this is going to be a short game one way or the other. It is currently 4 harvesters to 2, and Numbfish has the MCV as well, so he can deploy Hand of Nod, he can send out for laser turrets, he can do all of those normal things that you would want to do in a defense scenario. Going for the second war factory is also an option, and rebuilding anything that dies is possible as well. One harvester down. A great start here for GeoPanipi as he's able to target down one harvester full of Tiberium, and a second harvester full of Tiberium is going to go down. It is now 2 harvesters to 3 as Numbfish has actually deployed a refinery at the natural expansion. He truly had no idea that this attack was coming in. And he still hasn't actually lost that much to it, all things considered. This was a lot of bikes spent by GeoPanipi, and GeoPanipi does still have more forces crossing the map. But the fact that it's still 3 harvesters to do, I think Geo needs to just hit the natural expansion, go for this harvester over there, and knock that one down and sort of consolidate these harvesters to the main base. He's going to try and go into the main base again. There's another power plant deployed. No Hand of Nod, no barracks for the laser turrets. But free harvesting safely at the natural expansion. Geo goes straight for the main base once again, and he gets 2 more harvesters. Geo Panipi finally getting the harvester kills that he's been looking for this entire time, but he's also going to then transfer by the natural expansion and then realize, oops, there was a whole other base here. There's a whole other refinery there. And Geo Panipi has managed to even things up. The Scorpion tanks starting to come out for Numbfish, and Geo Panipi, he's still producing bikes. The defense isn't going to get easier for Numbfish. He's got another wave of bikes that he needs to contend with, but for now, they're on the other side of the map. There's nothing in the immediate vicinity. He actually has kind of a moment to breathe here. Numbfish, after losing to the Rush in game number 3, has to be feeling like the damage has been done here in game number 4, but it's still 3 harvesters to 3, and the attack just isn't arriving. This is maybe a full minute of the chance to rebuild and breathe for Numbfish, who now has 2K in the bank, now spending all of that cash. Needs more Scorpion tanks out on the front line. It's 4 bikes plus Scorpion tanks, so he has decent burst. The 5 bikes, you can take down almost any of these targets in one swoop, and with the Scorpion tanks as well, it's pretty easy to knock down targets. MCV, it looks like it got sold off as well. Cabal Squad is ready to go. Low power mode on the refinery, but he's keeping it around for now. So it's second War Factory out for Numbfish. And both players sitting on 10K worth of units. 17 is the count. 3 harvesters for both of them. Bike's going to come in, and for now, the trade is fine for both players. Geo Panipi, he committed into this attack sooner. But is he going to be able to get the better end of the trade? For now, the answer is no. The trade is sort of just equal between the 2 players. As the natural expansion becomes more important, maybe bringing it back online will be worth it for Numbfish. But for now, both players are in this awkward spot of they've traded quite a bit between each other. They have knocked down quite a bit off of each other. I don't think either player has gone for the blue Tiberium yet, which might be a changing factor between them. But they both knocked down quite a bit of the other player, and they both don't feel comfortable enough to move out onto the map, and they are staying pretty much lockstep with each other in terms of army value and in total number of units. The double War Factory 3 harvester production cycle does line up very nicely between both players. Engineer now going to be moving in. This is the engineer from the sold off MCV, and I guess Geo Panipi lost his engineer wherever it ended up on the map, and this engineer is going to maybe go down to the Scorpion tanks. Numbfish perhaps trying to distract. He didn't it doesn't seem like Geo Panipi has noticed that engineer off to the side. Bikes coming in. It's a swarm of bikes from both sides. The trades are pretty even for the current moment. Bikes going back and forth. Geo Panipi trying to find an angle at the natural expansion onto the Scorpion tanks of his opponent. And for now, the engineer is safe heading to that Tiberium spike, but reinforcements are passing by that area, so it is a dangerous road to move on. Scorp's getting caught. Numbfish finds a bit of a surround here as the buggies absorb the shots and the Scorpion tanks get onto the side and rear armor of Geo Panipi. The entire Scorpion tank army disappears, and Numbfish still has forces to spare. Behind all of this, there was no counterattack. There was no kill of harvesters back at the home base of Numbfish. So he kind of just killed off that army and didn't take any damage for it. Engineer does get killed. No tip spike capture for Numbfish. So no edge there in the fight. Cabal Squad trying to return back home. And as these harvesters are able to transfer over to the natural expansion, this is where a big advantage could come in for Numbfish versus Geopanipi, who for now has been going pretty even. He doesn't want to be going even because he's down in the series and he initiated this all in. So going even is bad, typically, for Geopanipi. One mistake will end his tournament life, will end his tournament run, and keep him out of playoffs. Both players vying for a spot in the round of 12 to keep their tournament life alive. And finally, Geopanipi has found it. That's the angle into the main base, and he finds one harvester, but the other two have already transferred over to the natural expansion. And that's a lot of dead bikes from Geopanipi. Numbfish loses a harvester. Geo has built two more harvesters, or he's built one more harvester, bringing his count up to 4. But Numbfish now has triple the army supply of his opponent. Numbfish, is he ready to finally cross the map and directly assault Geopanipi? He has the numbers advantage, but with the harvester count, the long distance harvesting isn't going to be enough. 4 harvesters, even with the length they have to drive, isn't going to keep up with Numbfish. Harv's not going to be in this fight as the Scorps go back and forth. The attack bikes get their volleys off, and they're able to burst down the Scorps of Geopanipi. Numbfish's numbers don't lie. It's a GG, and that's it. Numbfish will advance into playoffs. Numbfish will advance to the round of 12. Geopanipi putting up a good fight, but not able to make it happen. And let's jump into another qualifying match. And of course, we're back on Tiberium Rift for game number 1. It's another best of 5. And in the north, playing the red, this is Space. The one place uncorrupted by capitalism. But on the south side, playing the blue-black hand, this is Tipsy. You may have seen Tipsy in Group A, and he is back here in the last chance qualifier. Not all groups played their games fast enough that their players could participate, but Group A was wrapped up days before Group E ever kicked off. So the players in Group A got it done. The players in Group A made it happen, and they cleaned up all of their games before anything had happened, and then everyone who wanted to from Group A had the opportunity to go back into Group E, which, you know, may be a better run, it may not be a better run. We'll see for Tipsy. He doesn't have to fight Nohaev, and he doesn't have to fight Bike Rush here in Group E, so he does have that advantage, but he has to go through Space, a player who in the past has been very powerful, but I have not seen anything really from Space in the last year or so, so I have no idea what kind of status Space has in terms of how rusty he is, whether he's in tip-top shape, if he's feeling good coming into these games, or if he is not quite up to his old form. We're going to get a decent shot of it today, though, with macro-oriented openers from both players. Everything is timing out nicely, and it's Blackhand versus GDI. Neither player going for a super early game rush. Blackhand still can go for a double War Factory or go for Flames or something like that to try and trick up the middle part of the game. But with this Pitbull just getting constant vision and constant scouting from Space, that is unlikely. So Space may just want to kind of slow roll this, play off of 2 bases, get up to Juggernauts and a Marv, maybe even tag along some Sonic Emitters if he wants to play multi-MCV as he heads towards that 3rd base. But Space may very much be looking to just slow roll the games, get back into the swing of things, and Tipsy is not going to be an easy opponent to defeat. Tipsy has been having some good games both here in Chrono Clash II powered by Chronosphere.io. Be sure to check them out at the link in the description, but also in the extended series over on Green Zero's channel. That tournament, and Tipsy has just had a couple of showings, good showings in tournaments in the last couple of years regardless. So he has become a powerful player, and on a good day is a force to be reckoned with. Not always a top 4 or top 8 player, but on a good day, he can take games off of some of the best players in the game. I've never seen him, like, win a series versus Bike Rush, but that is a high bar to cross. So we'll see how he does here in this best of 5. For now, Pitbulls are going to be heading into the natural expansion, and Space is a little bit confused. He's slightly dizzy as he shows up, and he's like, oh, I was really hoping there would be some harvesters here for me to kill, but there aren't. There was one harvester coming out of that war factory, and then Tipsy comes back home with a couple of bikes, and he's going to be able to smash these Pitbulls, but the Pitbulls are trading back pretty much every kill for a kill, except for maybe that last one. But it is now 2 harvesters on the natural expansion for Tipsy, and he has that refinery that was powered down now powered back up, releasing the harvester that you get with it when it spawns in. So overall, both players stabilized into a fine place. Defender's advantage can be quite powerful for GDI forces, but Tipsy is pretty good at finding the angles. For now, nothing too devastating has happened on either side of the map. This power plant is getting surprisingly low. Space has not drafted a single watchtower just to deal with that, or sent an APC over to clean up that squad. So for the current moment, he is just going to be taking damage on that power plant. Pitbulls is walking their way around the map. For now, not having any consequence. This power plant is getting dangerously low on HP. Okay, he lost the power plant, and now he is overdrawn on power. So Space with a bit of a mistake there, kind of a silly oversight, but he's got upgraded power plants now, so he doesn't need that power plant now that he's got the command post out and running, and now there are going to be APCs that can quickly clean up that Confessor Cabal squad. So it is not the end of the world to lose that. Okay, there's the start of AP ammo. It's not the end of the world to lose that power plant. It does send him into low power mode for a moment there. One harvester going down on the Tipsy side of the map, and the Pitbulls may pay for it with their lives. They were hoping to get 2 harvesters or more, especially here at the natural expansion where the Tiberium actually is. They could get this harvester if they dive, and the volleys are good. The damage gets split across the high health harvester, and they don't dive for it, so that's going to be dead Pitbulls and not a dead harvester. There is some lost mining time there, so that's the consolation prize, and another harvester dies in the middle of the map. Space starting to find the kills that he's looking for. Hopefully he doesn't trade back his entire army for it like he did at the natural expansion of Tipsy. There are 3 harvesters here full of blue Tiberium for Space, and Tipsy gets one of them. He's on the other side, so he's able to get 2, and that's 2 dead harves with a 3rd soon to follow. That's 3 dead blue Tiberium harves. Take one of mine and I'll get 2 of yours. Tipsy finds the kills in the middle of the map. He not only evens things up on the harvester killing count, but he's ahead on total harvesters overall. Tipsy, he may not be able to match the power of GDI in all ways, but he finds the kills out in the middle despite the army that was already there and waiting. He trades a number of bikes to do it, but he gets the kills that he was looking for. Charged particle beams or Tib Core could be on the way. With the number of bikes, we expect it to be Tib Core, but charged particle beams is always a good upgrade as well. No rush towards epic units just yet from either one of these players. Space may be going there as he thinks about his 3rd base. It's very common for a GDI to go for the Marv, to go for a little bit of Marvisting on that 3rd base to supercharge your economy. Bikes coming in here, they might just be able to trap these APCs into the corner. These APCs not having a good day as Tipsy goes to the third base, traps his opponent's entire army, and he will get the kill on absolutely everything here in Space. He's now down below 10k of army value versus the 24k of Tipsy. And what is Space spending his cash on? He went into the airfield, he got some hammerheads, but now he's cut that off, and losing those 3 harvesters stunted his economy far more than expected. He doesn't have a third base. He doesn't have a Marv on the way. He doesn't have a ground army, so to speak. He's even going to be losing what units he does have in the sky. Hammerhead's taking big damage. There's the Marv out on the field. It was way up in the north, and that is where all of his cash has gone. He's spent it trying to get out that Marv, which means this Marv needs to do a lot of work for Space. He's hidden it up there in the north, and this is his hope for salvation. He can send some harvesters back to the main base, extend out his economy a little bit with the help of that. And there's going to be the decoy army from Tipsy. He's going to be rushing into the base. His army value is going to be plummeting. Part of that is a bug related to the decoy army ability that Nods have. Bike's going to be swinging around to the south side. The Marv might just find an undefended third base, and this may be the perfect move for Space to be able to knock down the economy and the setup of Tipsy. Space has gone for this multi-MCV play, and let's see if it works out. The engineers haven't caught up to the Marv just yet. The Bike's trading back against pit bulls and watchtowers on the south side. No amazing shots from any kind of sonic emitters, and the Marv steps forward. It takes some damage from the rockets, and for now the watchtowers are going to have their work cut out for them. Side armor doing some extra bonus damage to this Marv as the rockets smash in. The Marv is going to have to retreat, and he should be able to save it, but it's cost most of his health bar, and it is going to be costing him even more watchtowers. Shredder turrets are here on the front line. Rocket squad's just getting drip fed into this system, and the Bikes could have swung in on the backside and absolutely smashed that Marv. One volley from these Tib rockets probably would have been enough to kill the Marv when it was at its lowest health. But for now, Space thinks he can just step forward into this base and harvest it for free. If the Bikes come in, it is going to be a costly mistake. The Bikes finally swinging around on the backside. They're going to be passing by this army of watchtowers. A forest of watchtowers is growing up inside of Space's third base. And for now, he's gotten away with this. He really needs a war factor on the front line for production and for repairs to keep this Marv happy and healthy. Space, he's contesting the third base of Tipsy. Is he just going to take a bunch of shots from this obelisk? And he's doing it without building any harvesters. MCV gets caught. MCV down to half HP, and there's nothing nearby to defend it. So by the time these Shatterers move over, the MCV is going to be dead. They get one shot off. It lands on 3, and it knocks down 2 buggies and a bike. A good hit back, but it's not quite worth an MCV. Okay, if he keeps killing off bikes and buggies, it might be worth an MCV. MCVs aren't that expensive to rebuild. Marv goes down in the north, and that is now a heroic rocket squad that gets gunned down by the watchtowers, and the obelisk may be able to knock down watchtowers quickly, but there are so many of them that it does take a little while. Now with 2 obelisks, the watchtowers are not going to be matched, and the GG comes out. Leaf loses his Marv, loses his MCV in the south, and Tipsy manages to get the win. Those 3 harvesters in the middle of the map stunted Space's economy so much. He had a slow third base, and those 3 extra harvesters would have sustained him on that natural expansion long enough to power into that Marv and get it out in a more timely fashion, but also with more support, and instead he wasn't able to do it. So that is it. Tipsy gets 1 game up in this best of 5. And no surprise, it's on to Tournament Odyssey for game number 2. Space and Tipsy have decided they want a rematch. It's GDI versus Blackhand, but this time the map is Tournament Odyssey. Some players think that Tournament Odyssey is pretty heavily Nod favored, and in this case, I guess Space doesn't really think so because he's playing GDI and he chose the map as well. So he thinks he's got a good chance versus Blackhand on this map. Flames can work super well. There is lots of open space for bike buggy. The tip fields have 360 degrees of access. They're far enough away from the edges of the map that you can escape towards the edge of the map with your bike buggy. You just have so much maneuverability on this map, and there's so much open space. It is relatively flat all through, 90% of this map is flat, and then just these high ground bits on the edges are the only bit of terrain. And other than that, you've got a pretty comfortable natural expansion. You've got 2 bases that you can take pretty much guaranteed. We do often see early game builds. They're not all ins, but they are like 1.5 base type pushes, whether it's 4 or 5 APCs with some rockets and a couple of pit bulls or predator tanks, all the way to a big armory man spam kind of push where you get 1 or 2 key upgrades from your secret shrine or your armory, and you push across the map with 10 rocket squads and a couple of vehicles to support it. But all of these sorts of things, these early to mid game pushes, are very common on this map. It does provide a nice variety of big long macro games and also aggressive, faster paced matches. Double War Factory for both players. Not as common for GDI. It's not unheard of by any means, the Double War Factory before expanding. But it's a lot more common from the Nod factions, wanting to get out those cheaper bikes and buggies a little bit faster than you would otherwise. And the MCV is going to walk a little bit further before deploying at the natural expansion. Oh, he's really walking. He's walking a good long way before deploying at that natural expansion. He is almost making it to the hill to go for a third, but there's the deploy of the MCV. He has sort of base crawled accidentally his way over here. Of course, power plants don't push out the radius like they did in Tib Wars. You can't have the same kind of base crawl like you used to in Tib Wars. But it does look like on the minimap that he base crawled over there, even though it was an MCV move and not a base creep. Harvesters are undefended for the current moment. Bike's going to be coming in, and the Pitbulls dive for it. They will get 1. The repair is good. The juking is good. The repair is amazing. And the Pitbulls have to waste so many extra shots. That's 3-4 additional Pitbulls that go down trying to kill that 1 Harvester. It was so low on health, and it was just barely out of range. The repair was barely enough for the units that were in range, and this is kind of turning into a disaster considering how many Pitbulls have gone down here for Space. That should have been a bit of a slam dunk, but in terms of army value, he just lost basically everything he had on the map. He does still have an expansion behind this. He's got a good number of harvesters, so as long as he doesn't take counterattack damage, he should be fine. But normally you want to be able to keep those Pitbull numbers out on the map. He was, at least at the end, able to trade a number of those Pitbulls out, thin out the bikes and the buggies, and trade back some of those units to do a bit of damage to the army of Tipsy. But overall, that attack did not go how Space was hoping. Second refinery not quite up for Tipsy. It is up for Space, though. Okay, there's going to be the second refinery for Tipsy. It's not straight into an ops center. He's not going for a, 1.5 base tier 3. Nothing like that. Pitbulls moving through. Scorpion tanks starting to emerge. Space comes out. Space is going to have to back off. He does a little poke and a little prod. He kind of gets vision on what his opponent is doing, but nothing of significance happens there. And I keep expecting there to be an operations center, maybe flame tanks, maybe if he wants to go for Cabal squads as well, or Black Disciples to amp up his damage. Any of those typical Black Hand things. I mean, for now, Bike Buggy Scorpion, it's common for all Nod factions for a reason. Triple Engineer. So that's either 2 defensive towers, and then like a tib spike, or it's 2 tib spikes and a defensive tower. He's already got 1 defensive tower, which they do pretty good DPS, especially versus the low health Nod units. 1-2 Scorpion tanks might actually just go down to this defensive tower. Oh, the damage gets split across 2 different units. Into the main base goes nobody, because the pit bulls will trade out with the bikes. 1 pit bull for 2 or 3 bikes there, and Tipsy moves back over into the middle of the map. And 1 Cabal squad actually gets the kill on 2 engineers. A huge problem there for a beacon getting placed. A huge problem there for Space. He tried to go for a sneaky engineer play, and a random Cabal squad ends up catching it out and killing 2 of the engineers. That is a huge problem there for Space. 1,000 credits down the drain. MCV on the move. Engineer moving in towards that tib spike. Pitbull's trying to move down onto the low ground. Space won't find anything here. Defensive tower gets a couple of shots off, gets an extra couple of Pitbulls as well. And Space will at least... Oh, he's going to go for the MCV, but the MCV isn't there. I'm not sure where he's hoping to find a home for this engineer. For now, he's looking, I guess, anywhere possible. Defensive tower getting a couple more shots off against these Scorpions. Another 2 Scorpions may end up going down. Hammerheads are going to get some free damage. Space might find some angle to knock down this army. Harvester going to get targeted. 1 Harvester will go down pretty much for free. Space will respond with a double watchtower. So 1 or 2 of these bikes might go down on exit. And for now, nothing does go down, but the MCV gets caught. The Flame Tank plus the Scorpions going to be making short work of that MCV. Good night. And the Marv does step out onto the field just in time. The MCV goes down, but there is still a security blanket here for GDI. The Marv has moved forward, and that refinery gets stolen. He's not able to get a MCV, but he does get a harvester, so the timing is perfect. He does manage to steal the refinery. He gets the harvester with it, which, if you don't know, you have to wait until the harvester is docking. And this flame tank is continuing to burn down on the north side of the map. Tipsy says, you may have taken my harvester, but I'm going to take your whole base. He's targeting down the predator tanks and letting the flame tank deal with the buildings. War Factory pretty much surrounded. Their hammerheads going to chase that flame tank, but they don't actually get the kill, so the flame tank gets some bonus damage onto that War Factory before getting called off on the attack. And this refinery going to be getting targeted down. It will get burned, and the barracks will come to nothing. The power plant gets deployed over there in the south as well. Both players going for different forms of deep plays into the enemy backline. One with an engineer after 2 engineers got sniped, and then the other one sending a bunch of Scorpion tanks deep behind enemy lines. Secret Shrine is still here, but I have to imagine he's just going to sell it off. I don't think he's actually going to get Purifying Flame. And Space crossing the map now with his big GDI army. He doesn't have the 3rd base up and running, which is a little bit troublesome because Tipsy already has his economy burning along at that 3rd base. But the Marv can be a great equalizer in a lot of ways. The Marv can make up for many other things, especially if you're able to Marvist away part of your opponent's 3rd base. In the meantime, it'll be Scorpions and Rockets responding to this attack on the left side. Just a little bit of Tiberium leech damage happening on the right side. And the Hammerhead's going to roll up. Bike and Buggy got eliminated a while ago in this game, and it hasn't really been rebuilt. Rocket Squad's showing up to provide that anti-air capability. And Space, man, if he had this 3rd base up 1.5 minutes sooner, something like that, he would be in such an amazing position. But here he's actually just losing some of his Predator tanks. Whether he goes for railguns or not, these boys won't benefit from that. He does trade back against some of the Scorpions. It wasn't a total disaster there for Space. And the Sonic Emitter may be able to get an amazing shot here. It lands on one, but not the others. And for the current moment, both players get to the 3rd base. They line up their refineries, and now it is a big bunch of rockets produced by Tipsy that are going to try and unbalance things for space. Always annoying when you end up with your engineers in the wrong spots. Typically, you put the attacking units on the front of the Marv and the engineers in the back. But maybe he wanted to just fight with the one side of the Marv. I guess the left side of the Marv, our right side. As the Hammerheads come in, they're going to find too many rockets for them to deal with, but maybe the help of the sniper teams and the Marv can clear out this man spam. Keep in mind, over at the third base, there's even more damage happening to space. So if he loses his Marv, he may also be losing his economy behind all of this. And the Purifying Flame comes out, it burns down the Marv, and the sniper teams are still there. The expansion point goes down, and so do the Scorpions. The Sonic Emitter being brought up to deal with this rocket squad attack, and many of these harvesters going down. It's 7 harvesters to 9, but actually the sniper teams did get eliminated. The flames were enough, and now this fully upgraded Nod or Black Hand man spam rockets with Black Disciples, Confessor squads with charged particle beams, and this is now a fully upgraded flame tank, and the Juggernaut is just walking away. He says, I don't care about you, flame tank. You can burn down this base for all I care. Maybe this other Juggernaut will get the kill on the Flame Boy. No, he doesn't. The Purifying Flame going to be burning down that Juggernaut, and the rocket's going to be forcing this Juggernaut away, and the tap out comes out. GG from space. He doesn't want to fight it out anymore. He lost his Marv. He lost his foothold at his main and his natural. He was corralled up to that third base, and he was not going to fight to the last man and rocket. He taps out, and he goes next. Tournament to tower, we are requesting clearance for takeoff for a space comeback because he needs all the help he can get. Down 0-2, sticking with GDI, playing red. This is space. Not having the start to the series that he hoped for, but hope springs eternal. Verse Blue Black Hand, verse Tipsy. Showing the power of Purifying Flame in that last game. Space couldn't handle the heat, and he has to go for wide open spaces once again. Tournament Airstrip will be the venue that Space has chosen. He goes for Tournament Odyssey, and then he goes for Tournament Airstrip. And the unfortunate thing about opening up 0-2 is that it means as the series continues, when we go to Game 4 and Game 5, Tipsy will be the one choosing the maps. So Tipsy has only one more game to win, and from this point forward, he will either win the series or he'll get to choose the maps that we play on. And he can choose comfort picks. He can choose things that he thinks are best. If he wants to switch it up to Skrin or Traveler 59 or something, he can go for the maps that are best for that. Space may suspect that this is coming. Of course, variation is that he doesn't know what exact version of it, and it is going to be not a double Flame Reckoner, just a single Flame Reckoner. Oh, Flame Engineer Reckoner, so he can steal the Tib Spike or burn it down, whichever one you like. Flame Tank moving out, and you can see Space's original Rifleman squad in the north would have had the perfect timing. Right around 1 minute 40 is the early Flame Rush timing, and he was moving in to get a perfect confirmation scout on that. He did get denied by that Confessor Cabal, but of course he may have been suspecting it anyways. MCV is there at the natural. Not a lot of attacking units from Space. I think his only attacking unit is a Rifleman squad on the other side of the map, and I think that's about to go down. He did just produce an APC or a Pitbull. Okay, there we go. Pitbull is out on the map, and he will see the Reckoner. He won't see the Flame Tank just yet. Tipsy has also grabbed the Tib Spike in the middle of the map, so Tipsy already has 2 Tib Spikes, and the Flame Tank is not drawing any attention. There's a Reckoner here, so you kind of have to assume there's a Flame Tank as well, but there's going to be the Reckoner deployed, and the Flame Tank will get free damage on this MCV. Space doesn't realize it until it's too late. The MCV down to half HP, and he's focused on the defense up north. He's not focused on a sneaky Flame Tank around back. Guardian Cannon comes out, and there's the low power mode as Space is forced to sell off as he loses his MCV, and he now heads down to kill this Flame Tank to keep his tournament hope alive. Tipsy with the perfect flame opening here gets the MCV far more damage than anyone ever expects, and there's going to be an upgraded power plant for Space. It doesn't quite get him back online. He has to take a refinery offline to get his power back, but at least with that upgraded power plant, he is able to get everything back online. AP ammo has started up. Space has to spend his cash on something, and if he's rebuilding an MCV, he is going to need as much defense as he can possibly get. It is 8 harvesters to 5, but with only 1 operating refinery, this might as well be 3 harvesters on the Space side of the map. All right, he's got his MCV. He can take that other refinery and put it back online so that he can at least get the harvesters an additional place to refine, and that will sort of double his income because he has so many harvesters just waiting around in the parking lot. But this is going to take a minute or two to recover. This is going to take at least a couple of minutes for Space to stabilize from this position. And this is where Tipsy can, well, do things like take the blue Tiberium. If you can double expand, that is nice. But this early on in the game, you can't really double expand. Sometimes a little bit later, you will see a player take a 3rd and a 4th base at the same time when they do this kind of damage, and they know their opponent is going to be holed up in their base recovering. Space goes for the crane, a good way to try and even things up. And of course, now the attacks are primed to begin. Pitbull showing up at the natural expansion of Tipsy, so Space is actually going to be getting a bit of damage on a harvester over there. And behind all of this, Tipsy is going to be looking to just put a little bit of pressure out onto the map and slow Space down even more. Space doesn't get the kill on the harvester. Tipsy does manage to defend with the rocket squads, and AP ammo finishing up nice and early in this game will be paying big dividends if Space is able to hold on. Second watchtower gets deployed. Rocket squads show up, and of course they already have Black Disciples, so if they move in close, they can burn down those buildings. Second watchtower or third watchtower gets deployed. APCs are here. Would love to see sniper teams, but Space can't afford it with all the other things that are going on. He doesn't want to go for the armory. He doesn't want to go for hammerheads either at this point, as he's already had enough to deal with in this case. APCs going down, rockets are still present, and the watchtowers will eventually whittle them down. But here comes the bike buggy. Here comes the rest of that 14k of army supply from Tipsy. And it's not always a case of bigger army supply wins, but boy, it certainly does help in this case. A couple of more bikes going down, and the Black Hand squads aren't even burning down that refinery. Tipsy is not maximizing his forces, but he doesn't really need to. He's ahead even without playing to the absolute max of his abilities, without optimizing absolutely everything, stealing the blue Tiberium, and now getting to pop a harvester and a refinery with the catalyst missile. Makes it an easy 1-2 punch, and the Purifying Flame comes out from Tipsy, styling on Space. He's saying, I've got enough cash that I can burn you down faster with that Purifying Flame. And when you're ahead like this, you follow it up with a 1-2 punch of knocking down a harvester or two and then hitting them with the catalyst missile. It puts the GDI player that much further behind. Tipsy now floating 6k. And there's the vein detonation. It absorbs a little bit of the cash, but this might even be a vapor bomb follow-up. Oh, man. It is not good for Space. He pulls all of his harvesters back, and there's going to be a dead refinery. Space is just not allowed to play in this game. Nuclear missile is here, and Okay, there we go. GG. That's the tap out from space. It is not a good situation. It went from bad to worse, and when you're down 0-2, you're not going to be able to fight out from that position in that game. That will do it for this series. Tipsy advances into the round of 12. It's back to the Rift. It's back for the Mark of Kane in the north, playing the Cyan. This is Underworld Fox. Meanwhile, on the south side, a new contender. This is Cyberstorm. One more best of 5 for both of these players to make it into the round of 12 to get a shot at the prize money in the round of 8 and to take a piece of Chrono Clash II home with them. Of course, presented by Chronosphere. Big thanks to Chronosphere for supporting Kane's Wrath in 2025. If you are working for a tech company and you need observability tools and solutions, then check out chronosphere.io or at the link in the description. Big thanks to them, because this event wouldn't be happening if it wasn't for them, and we have seen so many amazing games over the course of this event. So many players participating in Kane's Wrath, with a pretty big 32-player group stage, and then another, I don't know, 10 or 12 players beyond that were unique. So in total, 40-something players logging on to play Kane's Wrath competitively, which is nice to see. It's not the biggest numbers in the world, of course, but we love to see the support for Kane's Wrath and the community showing up for it as well. For now, Underworld Fox going to be the underdog of this series versus Cyberstorm, who is hoping to lock in a spot for playoffs. His troubles won't be over, because once he's into that round of 12, he has a best of 7 against a top 8 player to go against. So things don't get easy from here for whichever player ends up winning. But in a Blackhand versus Marked of Kane mirror, things can, not mirror, but matchup, things can go very weird very fast. Blackhand has some great early and mid-game punches, and of course we got to see the EMP utilization of Underworld Fox and Marked of Kane in the first couple of minutes. Just kind of being annoying, tagging a couple of units here or there. No big damage done one way or the other, but a little bit of EMP shenanigans here or there. Another bike may end up going down here on each side. 2 bikes actually on the side of Cyberstorm. But of course, he was winning the fight before that moment, and now it's much closer to an even exchange between the 2 players. Double War Factory for both Marked of Kane and Nod in this case, and the Conyard deploys at the natural expansion for Underworld Fox. So Cyberstorm getting pushed in this early game, being matched pretty evenly here by Underworld Fox. Cyberstorm actually down on Harvesters for the current moment versus Underworld Fox. And the defense is totally fine. Underworld Fox, he isn't smashing this attack and crushing all opposition, but he certainly isn't losing very much to it. He's just trading units back and forth. And the beginning of the trade wasn't good for Underworld Fox, but I feel like it's evened up as it's gone on. They've gone pretty even in trades, with the faster reinforcements and the repairs coming in for Underworld Fox to help even things up. More Harvesters now out on the line for Underworld Fox. He's up to 8 versus just the 5 of Cyberstorm, but it should be 6 very soon from Cyberstorm. On the north side of the map, it is bikes and buggies for both players. They're hoping to find the magic angle that is just the right timing and just the right attack to crush their opponents. But no one has found it just yet. They've just been trading back and forth. Bike and buggy versus bike and buggy. EMPs could be a massive change to that, but it's also hard to hit fast-moving units like bikes and buggies. You have to get the timing just right. You have to get the pre-fire just right. And that's difficult to do. Double refinery on the natural expansion for both players. And straight into tech or perhaps into a third base. Cyberstorm has been low on harvesters for pretty much this whole game, so losing a couple more doesn't feel good. More bikes and buggies trading out. That's the sort of thing we expect to see. The harvester kills are not necessarily what we expect to see. It is now 7 harvesters versus 9. Cyberstorm still in an okay position, but he is down 8,000 total resources gathered. Underworld Fox, he has a bit of an army to contend with as these bikes find a couple of extra kills, but the Scorpion tanks are already here, so Underworld Fox is going to be able to push this back, no problems at all. Bike buggy swarming around, Scorpion tanks on the front line. A couple of Scorpion tanks getting separated out from the others, and they will kind of be cleaned off there. That one's very low health, but he does still manage to escape. And it's going to be a lot of bikes and buggies running for the hills for Cyberstorm. Back on the other side, the Black Hand player has the Operations Center, has access to flame tanks as well. Meanwhile, the Marked of Kane player, no flame tanks, but he is probably getting his own Ops Center. Yes, he is. Dozer Blades already purchased, picked up here for Underworld Fox. And of course, neither player has the late game Scorpion laser upgrade, but both players can get their own version of charged particles. Tanks coming in. It is more tanks on the side of Cyber. Well, okay, not with the decoy army absorbing a couple of shots there, but it's a better position on the side of Cyber. But for the current moment, he's not too worried about the decoy army. Radar jamming missile fires off for one of these players. Bikes swinging in at the main base of Underworld. And meanwhile, Underworld does see the fact that Cyber is moving towards that third base location. So he knows that pretty much the exact timing of the MCV. He knows what his opponent is up to. And Underworld Fox having just a great opening couple of minutes here. Just really stable, really normal kind of start to the game. He's got stealth harvesters as well, so he doesn't have to worry about the Scorpion tanks just trashing his harves in the middle of this fight unless they have stealth detection. Bikes coming in to help fight this out as the Scorpion tanks have better numbers on the side of Cyberstorm. So he loses out on killing the harvesters, but he wins out on managing to kill his opponent's Scorpion tanks. More and more Scorps coming in for both sides, but the numbers remain on Cyberstorm's side. The army value has switched hands now with that surround, with the destruction of those Scorpion tanks. Cyberstorm now has nearly double the army value of his opponent, unlike a few minutes ago when Underworld Fox had the army value advantage. And there's another radar jamming missile firing off. Cyberstorm may not realize that Underworld Fox has taken that third base just yet. He might have actually gone for that instead of going into the natural expansion. And with the Panic Fanatics and the reinforcements, I'm not sure that Cyberstorm is going to be able to stay here for any longer. EMP finally lands, and EMP finds its way onto the front line, and Cyberstorm will retreat from the front line. He is basically given away a lot of his army. Underworld Fox matching him in most cases, and now the harvesters are going to be going back and forth on this blue Tiberium. Underworld Fox, I think, has gotten quite a bit more of that blue Tiberium than Cyberstorm, so Cyber behind in that case. Cyberstorm was behind on the harvester count earlier in the game as well, and he did have a decent timing on his Ops Center, but I think his Tier 3 is a bit slow compared to when most players would be getting it. Secret Shrine is up and running. Tib Infusion and Cybernetic Legs, both potential upgrades, but Cybernetic Legs are the much better upgrade of the two, especially when you're going for Enlightened squads, if you're going for that high, those higher tech Kane units, Marked of Kane units. The Tib Troopers, they've also been present on purpose in a number of fights in this tournament. It's good to see people utilizing Tib Troopers. They're maybe not as good on their face as flame units, but we've seen people utilize them to deny their opponent's ability to retreat. The slow that they provide to vehicles does end up being a useful strategic tool, and it's nice to see that actually coming to bear here in Chrono Clash 2. Cyberstorm was looking like he was ready to attack on the other side of the map, but now that Underworld Fox has attacked, Cyberstorm has turned his entire base, his entire army around, and is headed back to the main base. EMP lands absolutely massive, and Cyberstorm has the tank numbers, but he doesn't have the infantry numbers. And so Cyberstorm, with the EMPs landing and the infantry, he was able to trade a lot worse with his tanks than he should have. He should have smashed the tanks of Underworld, but Underworld got so many tanks back. The numbers were still on the side of Cyberstorm, and with the Dozer Blades, he's going to be able to crush on these retreating infantry units. But that attack should have gone so much worse for Underworld Fox as soon as all the tanks arrived. But that combination of EMPs and the Enlightened and the Tib Troopers actually got a surprising number of kills. Cyberstorm still has the tank advantage, and they both have their third bases well established. But the infantry at least clawing back some value for Underworld Fox. Cyberstorm retreats all of his tanks back up to the north side, so after defending his main base, he decides to back off and head back for the north. Another radar jamming missile firing off. That is a lot more of them in this game than we would typically see. Maybe one or two from a nod player over the course of a game, but I feel like we've seen 3 from each player at this point. Avatar steps on out onto the field. Another EMP lands, but it only catches 1 tank. Now that's 4 tanks with a second EMP. 2 more for another EMP. And the supercharged particle beams making short work of these tanks, but the Avatar is now down, and the tank numbers just aren't there for Underworld Fox. Cyberstorm just has the better tank count, and these light squads are not closing the distance and eliminating enough tanks to really make it worth it. There's another whiff on that EMP, and another whiff as the tank numbers of Cyberstorm just don't go down. He's moving slowly to try and get the crush on the infantry, and I think now with the Avatar back online, finally Underworld Fox can crush this attack, and Cyberstorm getting surprising damage with these tank numbers. Underworld Fox's infantry, I keep expecting them to rush forward and just smash the tank fight, but they never do. They never manage to close the distance fast enough to be able to deal with it. Another disruption tower coming up as this fight for the third base continues on. A lot of these units have already been given their attack command, so they're not going to be turning their guns on their friends. And another harvester going down. Underworld Fox, his harvesters being revealed by the shredder turrets and by the units of Cyberstorm, who's decided he is here to play. The triple shredder turret deploy on the front line is going to be going toe-to-toe with the obelisk as the reinforcements show up for Underworld Fox. He is fighting for his life at this third base of that Redeemer, doing massive damage to push Cyberstorm back. And now finally the cavalry has arrived, but Cyberstorm deploys his own obelisk of light, and this Redeemer suddenly stands alone, unprotected against all the tanks. MCV taking a lot of damage. Cyberstorm should be getting pushed out of this position. The MCV will go down, and the last shot from the Avatar takes it down. No Redeemer on the side of Cyberstorm, just mass tank and shredder turret. The obelisk getting a nice couple of shots here to clean up the forces of Underworld Fox, and it's pure Scorpion tank that is getting it done. One after another, the Scorpion tanks just keep crossing the map, and somehow with these low-tech, not even particularly well-upgraded Scorpion tanks, they have crushed the army of Underworld Fox. He just doesn't stop. Cyberstorm puts out more and more tanks, and it feels like it shouldn't work, but it is working. He's still got so many tanks on the front line. He's trying to take the power down. He's trying to shut the lights off, and the obelisk keeps firing shots. And now the Redeemer is going to activate again, and he's just going to go down. There's just too much firepower. I can't believe how effective these Scorpion tanks have been for Cyberstorm. He shouldn't have won that fight, and yet he did, because he just kept building Scorpion tanks. He just kept sending them across the map, and the parade never ended. The push never ended. Surely the MCV dying should have been things swinging back into Underworld Fox's favor, but he didn't have the economy to keep pumping out units, and Cyberstorm did. I hope you like your nod here on Tournament Odyssey, because in the north, playing the Cyan, playing the Marked of Kane, it's Underworld Fox putting up a good fight in that game number 1, despite the fact that he just lost to almost pure Scorpion tank from the man in the south. This is Cyberstorm. Cyberstorm getting it done with basically pure Scorpion tank. There were a few other things mixed in there as well, but the vast majority of everything from Cyberstorm, especially in that last fight, was those Scorpion tanks. That was just how he got it done. It is not something that we see all that often, the pure Scorpion tank this late in the game, this far into an event, but Cyberstorm made it happen. Will that work in the future, though? I have to imagine Underworld Fox is now going to be a little bit more wary, especially with Cyberstorm switching to Nod, a faction that can do even more with those mass Scorpion tanks. Underworld Fox, I feel like, is going to be ready for it this time, and Cyberstorm might just have to kind of change things up because of that. Cyberstorm, I think, with the worst basic infantry in the game, the militant squads. I feel like everything just crushes militant squads. Riflemen from GDI factions, Cabal and Awakened just murder them. And then Buzzers, as long as they close the distance, Buzzers annihilate all infantry squads, basically. Awakened squads making their way in. Cyberstorm is going to have some more annoying EMPs to deal with. Always frustrating when this happens to you, but it is something that can be mitigated. First EMP is going to land on that War Factory, and that's going to be shutting down the bike production for now. Harvester numbers are equal between both players, so Underworld Fox would love to actually tag a Harvester and knock it down. EMP from the Enlightened squads, from the Awakened squads, all kind of going down, not really doing all that much, and no early game slam dunks from either player. Underworld Fox deploys a second War Factory over there at the main base, and bikes roll through the natural. This is also a little bit of scouting information. You see that there is nothing at the natural. You get a better idea of what your opponent is going for. And even if he hasn't seen the actual main base with the second War Factory, at this point, he is suspicious. That's what he's thinking in the back of his mind. Okay, I bet this guy went double War Factory in the main. There is nothing here at the natural expansion, and we can see that there's nothing even queued. It's not even like there's a refinery nearby. So Cyberstorm is actually just going to get a couple of basically free kills on those Scorpions. One EMP does land, it tags a buggy, and now the trades will continue. Cyberstorm still has the better numbers. Underworld Fox has not brought all of his army over at the same time, and so the trades are tight, but they are still favoring Cyberstorm. They're going more and more even as the time goes on, but Cyberstorm just confirmed for a good minute and a half that there is nothing at the natural expansion. He has his own refinery up and running there at the natural, and he does have a Harvester advantage as well. No defensive tower for either player just yet. Would be amazing to have in this situation. And the bikes swing in, but they need to kill at least one Harvester, if not two, to even things up. And they don't get the one thus far. Looking for another angle. Underworld Fox, he may have needed to just commit an extra 2 bikes to stick around in that attack. We'll see if he gets anything at the main base. One Harvester pulled off the line, but not early enough, and the bikes will smash it. That's one Harvester down. So finally Underworld Fox gets the kill that he's looking for. He's trading out a lot of bike and buggy regardless. So he's going to lose a lot of his bike and buggy either way with Cyberstorm coming in to defend, but at least he got the Harvester kill for it. Cyberstorm has double the army supply of Underworld Fox, but we'll see what he's actually able to accomplish with it. Engineer will get sniped before the defensive tower gets captured, so unfortunate for Underworld Fox that he spent the cash, but he doesn't get anything for it. Number of buggies going down there for Cyberstorm. Not going to keep his buggy numbers as high. And Underworld Fox starting to stabilize there at the natural expansion. Only $4 grand of additional income for Cyberstorm, but $1,000 has also been killed in useless engineers, so maybe it's more like a $6,000 or $7,000 lead because of that extra couple of units being killed by Cyberstorm. Harvesters now transferring over to the natural, and the Hand of Nod comes out, but the rocket squads get immediately jumped on and killed by these buggies. So that's more just cash down the drain. Underworld Fox keeps spending money on things that get him nothing. And now the defensive tower has been eliminated. Cyberstorm doesn't want to have that as a potential threat that he has to deal with. Militant Squad on the right side of the map does get spotted. It gets caught and killed, but that was a good warning system for this incoming attack. Underworld Fox now going to be going in for the Harvesters that he left earlier, but the low health Harvester, unfortunate for Underworld Fox, it's not on the edge of the Tiberium field. If it had been on the edge of the Tiberium field, that would have been a dead Harvester, but it was back refining Tiberium, and that's the kind of RNG that you can't really account for. Where's that Harvester going to be going? Where is it going to auto harvest to? Is it going to be selecting Tib that is close to the refinery, or is it going to be going for stuff that's a little bit further out? The harvesting patterns have a degree of randomness to them, and not every Harvester is told where to go on every single patch. Tier 3 is up. Lasers or Tib core missiles on the way. This is a lot of Scorpion tanks, and the buggies would benefit from the lasers as well. So this could be a big boost to the now late game army of Cyberstorm from somebody who won with basically just Scorpions in that last game. I mean, a couple of other things as well, but basically just Scorpions. And now he's going to be having upgraded Scorpions as well. Damaged Harvester still hasn't been targeted by Underworld Fox. He has committed in for this kill, but he doesn't actually get it. He loses everything, and he doesn't get the kill. There are now 2 low health Harvesters that have taken a lot of damage but haven't gone down over the course of this game. Underworld Fox going to be kicking himself for those 2 Harvesters that escaped. Cyberstorm would be, having to at least spend money to rebuild those Harvesters, or he would just be at a lower Harvester count overall. A couple of Fanatics coming out. Not quite Panic Fanatics, but they are not here because they're the best unit for the job. They're here to try and save Underworld Fox in this fight. Oh boy. Laser capacitors have just given a huge upgrade to this army. Maybe Underworld Fox can... Is he just going to be going for a base trade? Both armies kind of pass by each other, and Underworld Fox has to decide if he wants to back up and commit for the defense. Venoms are here as well to help thin out the infantry numbers of the Marked of Kane. The radar jamming missile going to be firing off. Cyberstorm and Underworld Fox, I think they both turn around. They both decide, oh, actually, no, we don't want to go for the base. We want to meet in the middle of the map. I'm not sure what the plan is here. First EMP lands. It's not amazing when you've got this many tanks and not enough damage to kill them off. EMPs can either let you win the tank battle, or they can let you kill off the retreating units, and neither one of them really happened particularly well there. Venoms overhead providing overwatch, and they are unopposed with that laser upgrade, and meanwhile the Scorpions are just burning through everything else. It's the melting beam of the lasers here to knock down the main base, knock out 2 war factories if they can. One goes down and the second one remains for at least the moment, but it's lasers versus non-lasers, and as we say, lasers always win. Underworld Fox, even with the decoy army, isn't going to have enough to absorb the shots of these lasers, and the surround comes in once again. It's Scorp v Scorp, but one is just better. GG comes out, and Underworld Fox puts up a good fight, but he's not able to save it in the late game. He's not able to stay toe-to-toe with Cyberstorm all throughout the game. We're on to Tournament Highlands for game number 3. We're into match point scenario, into match point territory. It's game 3 on Tournament Highlands, and we're into match point territory for the red nod on the left side. This is Cyberstorm. Meanwhile, the Cyan Blackhand on the left side, foregoing the Mark of Kane and opting for the Flame. This is Underworld Fox. He's going to be underground if he doesn't start putting some wins on the board, and he's certainly going to try here with the Operations Center. He believes in the power of Flames, and so do I. Glad to see it. It is always crazy to go for something like this in game number 3 when you're down 0-2, but here we go. Cyberstorm gets the perfect scout on it. He knows exactly that this is coming, and the MCV packed up as well, so I don't know if this was the original plan, is to build one Reckoner, get one Black Hand Squad, and then leave, but I kind of have a feeling that this might be a panic response to being scouted so precisely. And it's not like, oh, he got a Cabal squad in, I can just draft a Shredder turret and knock him down, or a Militant squad rather. This is a buggy that's going to stick around for a while, and it can scout you pretty much the whole way back unless you kill it, and you need something for that. So we will see if the Flame Rocket Reckoner can get it done. Double rocket inside. Oh, it's actually going to be a double rocket inside. There could be a third rocket as well, and this works better against someone who doesn't have stealthed harvesters. The bikes will reveal the harvesters though, so here's the extra firepower from the Reckoner, and they're going to try and just outrange these harvesters, deal with the Scorpions, deal with the Shredder turrets, and then delete the harvesters at range. It's not going particularly well for the current moment. The MCV is still here, and there's going to be a second War Factory on one base for Cyberstorm. Behind all of this, it looks like Underworld Fox still has his MCV as well, so it's not a total commitment to this attack, although this is costly for Underworld Fox to maintain. If he gets one or two harvesters, then it certainly will be worth it, but if he gets one harvester, it's probably not worth it. If he gets two, it almost certainly is worth it. If he gets three, okay, now we're talking about good territory, but he's not even going to get one harvester at this point, and he lost the bikes, and now he's going to lose the Reckoner, and this just did not go well for Underworld Fox. He deploys a second refinery. He gets the War Factory and a second refinery. I'm not sure about that refinery placement. I would think that somewhere over here would have been a more fitting place for it. Underworld Fox is in a rough spot. Not much of a silver lining to find here. He isn't that far behind on harvester count, if that's all you look at and you ignore any of the other facts of the game. He's not that far behind in harvester counts. We're not going to talk about how effective those harvesters are or how efficient they are or anything else. We're just going to say he's not that far behind in harvester count. There's that the Black Hand Squad didn't burn down either of the Tib spikes. What has that Black Hand Squad been doing? That was the Black Hand Squad from the sell-off of the Ops Center a long time ago in the game. It got inside of the Reckoner, and then it hopped out of the Reckoner at some point, but it didn't, like, burn down a power plant in the back of the base. It didn't burn down Tiberium spikes. I don't know what that Black Hand Squad's purpose was, but Underworld Fox has built a decent number of Scorpions. He's going to be keeping himself safe for now, and I don't know, I guess you just transition into a normal game from here, and you just had a bad opening, you were down a bit, and you hope that your defense can carry through for the rest of the game. But Cyberstorm is just kind of transitioning into a normal game from here. He's going for his natural expansion, and he is going to be able to get quite a bit of blue Tiberium. He's getting at least 3 loads of blue Tiberium without any opposition. He might send another harvester down to this southern blue Tiberium, and at this point, he has a good enough harvester count and refinery count that he can kind of just afford to do that, and it sort of extends out his main base while still providing good income. And that's going to be one dead harvester on the Underworld Fox side. Cyberstorm, he managed to hold off the attack, but Underworld Fox not having as much success And I mean, you can always just go for the upgraded power plant on exit. Just throw a couple of volleys of rockets over there and then escape the Scorpions. Okay, Scorpions getting one back without losing a Scorpion in the immediate trade. So that's good. The Scorpion is dangerously low on health, though. So that's not a good situation, but it is good enough. And yeah, that's going to be 4 loads of blue Tiberium. Well, 3.5, but that is extending out that main base's life by a bit. And it's 8 harvesters, so he's on a pretty comfortable economy. Cyberstorm, you know, he could think of a better opening for this game, but all things considered, this has been a pretty much perfect opening for Cyberstorm. He is very, very happy with the state of the game at this point. Underworld Fox did not get any of the things accomplished that he tried to get accomplished in the first part of the game, and the transition into the mid-game, into the natural expansions, has gone perfectly for Cyberstorm. He got lots of blue Tiberium. He is massively ahead in all of the ways that he wants to be ahead. He's 10k ahead in resources gathered, and his army is quite comfortably ahead as well. So he's chilling, very happy with how the game has gone up to this point. It's not always as easy of a early to mid-game transition as this, but Cyberstorm is very pleasantly surprised with how all things have turned out. Flame tanks headed in. It's a Black Hand base, but the flame tanks are on the side of Nod. This is a massive amount of rockets and cannons ready for this fight. There's going to be the decoy army to absorb some of this damage, and there's also going to be a lot of flame tanks just going for the crush and going for the infrastructure. He might actually just have enough flame tanks and enough scorpions to distract the army and then get on top of these critical structures. One refinery does go down, power plants getting burned to the ground, and one flame tank makes it all the way to the back of the base, might even get this refinery before he goes down. And meanwhile, Cyberstorm has free reign on the front line with his own flame tanks, with its own scorps to knock down these harvesters. Everything has gone well for Cyberstorm, and he may not have gotten a lot of harvester kills, but he got both of the refineries at the natural expansion, and the counterattack just doesn't really exist for Underworld Fox. Every game has had its moments where it's close, but it's felt like every game has been less close than the last. Cyberstorm was behind at various points in game number 1, and then Cyberstorm was ahead in game number 2, and now it just feels like Cyberstorm is miles ahead in game number 3. It seems like things are going from bad to worse for Underworld Fox. I guess they started out good or pretty good in the game number 1, but now things are going very poorly for him here in game number 3. Lasers finish up as well. Behind the scenes, there was a tier 3. There was a nice laser capacitor upgrade. And to follow on to killing both of your opponent's refineries, Cyberstorm is taking the middle of the map. And he is also now has even better Scorpions than he did before. He may have had the army count advantage before and the army value advantage before, but now it's even more true with the upgrade on these Scorpion tanks. And it's just a close to impossible task for Underworld Fox. Comebacks do happen, miracles can happen, but that is a heck of a turnaround for this game and this series to keep Underworld Fox's hopes alive. Cyberstorm, he had a rough game number 1, but he is finishing out in style with these flame tanks in game number 3. It's Mass Scorps. He's going to light up this base like a Christmas tree, and he's going to light it up with more sources of light than just one. Flame tanks and lasers are both incredible to look at, and it's not even just 3 or 4 flame tanks. There are more crossing the map. There are more reinforcements coming in for Cyberstorm. Underworld Fox put up a good fight, but it is time to say good night as the harvesters are getting chased away from the natural expansion once again. 2 of them going down on the front line. A third gets trashed, and even more are low on health. The flame tank hasn't burned down the refinery in additional time, but it's closing in now, and that's going to be the tap out. That's going to be the GG as Cyberstorm heads into the round of 12. Things don't get easier there, but Underworld Fox wasn't able to make the cut, and he will drop out of the event and drop out of Group E. Almost everything is known now about the round of 12. We have one final player to decide who goes into the round of 12 and who is out of the tournament. In the north, playing the red, playing the GDI, it's Shock Trepet. In the south, coming back into Group E, this is Dimitri. Let's hope it's as funny this time as it was last time. And I won't say anything more than that in case any of you haven't seen Dimitri's amazing Group C, I think it was Group C performance in the double elimination groups. It was a very enjoyable lower bracket run, we'll say that, for Dimmy. And well, that will do it for that, but now we're into Group E. We are into round 3, and this is the farthest down of the qualifying matches. We know who 3 of the 4 players advancing from the Group E Blitz group into the playoffs will be, and now we just have this last one to decide. Dimitri playing the Black Hand, Shock Trepet playing the GDI. Shock Trepet, another one of those players that very good player overall, very solid player for a number of years now in Kane's Wrath, but I haven't seen him play in, I don't know, at least 6 months, so probably 9 months at this point, 9 or 12 months, closing in around that kind of a time frame. So I have no idea if Shock Trepet is in good shape, if Shock Trepet is feeling good about these matches, kind of like Space in one of the earlier matchups. Space versus Tipsy, I thought that was going to be a lot closer of a series, and Space in the past has put up some amazing games, so has been a really solid player and just wasn't able to achieve that today. And Dimitri, we've seen some good games from him. We have seen some absolute goofball games as well. So now the question is, Shock Trepet, is he up and running? Because Dimitri, on a good day, is an amazing player. He just doesn't always have a good day. That Group C, absolute hilarity there. Couple of pit bulls rolling into the base. The natural expansion is being assaulted. War Factory shows up, and Dimitri, I mean, he took that damage on his MCV. He took a surprising amount of damage on his MCV from that first pass of the pit bulls, and it looks like Shock Trepet is actually going to be able to get a harvester here. Mind Drop comes in as well, just to help kill off some of these bikes and buggies, and Dimitri's juking around this War Factory is absolutely insane. I cannot believe he has kept that harvester alive that long, and he's actually gonna get it. He keeps the harvester alive the entire time. Every single pit bull goes down. The APC as well, the Mind Drop and everything. And somehow that harvester didn't get eliminated. I cannot believe that Dimitri has lost out on that. I can't believe he kept that harvester alive. Shock Trepet so close to killing that harv, and yet not able to do it, not able to close the deal on that kill. That was a decent number of pit bulls. That was a decent number of everything. I mean, the APC, you know, not that decent number, but one APC, but that was a decent number of pit bulls, and to not get a single harvester to get that close is rough for Shock Trepet. Hopefully he's not the tilting type to get that close to lose that many units for something and then to not actually accomplish it. Harvester putting a little bit of damage onto those no stealth harvesters of Blackhand. Buggy's swinging around to the south side of the map, and just happy to, I guess, patrol this sort of middle area, keeping an eye on what exactly is going on the Shock Trepet side of the map. There's going to be the tier 3. Tib core missiles could be finishing up, and I was kind of expecting that we would see some flame tanks out of the Black Hand player. Dimitri, he's got a pretty big army. Even when you discount the decoy army, he's got a pretty big army. And Tibcore isn't up and running just yet. He might actually be able to catch this MCV as it transitions over. Tibcore would be amazing for this. The volley doesn't land. It starts to as that MCV deploys. And APC Pitbull rolls over to the third base for Shock Trumpet to defend this MCV. All right, it was a little bit late, but eventually Shock Trumpet did get there. And he's able to push back the bike buggy without too many problems. Trades back and forth. I feel like Shock Trumpet got the better end of that little exchange there, but also Tibcore hasn't quite finished up just yet. I mean, he could be going charged particle beams, but that's a pretty fast upgrade, so I think it is Tibcore for Dimitri. He is going multi-MCV as well, and he has the Catalyst missile ready, so the $3 grand in Dimitri's bank account could disappear very quickly if he starts activating some of these one-clicks. Shock Trumpet rolls up, and now Tibcore has been revealed. It has been upgraded. MCVs on their way across the map, and Shock Trumpet would love to shut this down. There's another decoy army just to absorb a couple of shots here, absorb a couple of rockets, and it's going to be a fight, a war of attrition at the front door here for Shock Trumpet and Dimitri. Dimitri is hoping to win this, but the APCs have that sustain that just allows them to keep fighting. The Tibcore does absolutely smash this army, but those APCs, the constant damage from them just is difficult to deal with. However, behind that, Shock Trumpet doesn't continue to press his advantage. He just says, all right, I'm going to back off. I stopped you. He even kills the Harvester that was trying to steal the blue Tiberium in the middle of the map. He's got a couple of hammerheads that has now been revealed. I mean, you know, 7.5 minutes in, it's not a big surprise that a GDI player has an airfield. It's something that Dimitri could have blind guessed. And he has Tibcore bikes, so he's already got the anti-air upgrade. I guess this is going to be a swap. A little swap skis. I take my third, or you take my third, I take your third. Harvesters might be going down. Nice time to chew up some Harvesters at the natural. Bingo bongo. That's one Harvester down. Trades it back for at least one bike. Another bike on exit. Another bike on exit. Although this Pitbull isn't going to survive. If the Tibcore bikes get a volley off, they will kill that. Half a volley doesn't quite do it, but the volley does. The full 2 shots does manage to kill it off. All right, MCV never actually retreated or sold off, so Dimitri is actually just going to get a free Harvester in the north here. That was maybe just a distraction down there, and he gets the blue Tiberium Harvesters as well. Okay, they don't really have any blue Tiberium in them. One has a little bit, and the other one has nothing. He was just transitioning over. Great shots from this Sonic Emitter, lighting up multiple of these. Are you kidding? Another Harvester. He's just sending them into their death. And I mean, you might as well send another bike to get the kill on that one Harvester, but that is a troublesome transition for those Harvesters, showing up and just getting knocked down one after the other, and the Harvesters of Shock Trumpet just cannot stay alive. The Marv about halfway done, the Redeemer stomping its way around the map. And the bike buggy getting harassed now by the hammerheads, but the bike buggy is okay with that fight. They will knock down hammerheads pretty much any day of the week, all day long. Okay, maybe not with the APCs here. The APCs cause some extra problems, but another hammerhead goes down anyways. Watchtowers continuing to be deployed, just more money spent on defense that isn't spent on army. And these Juggernauts, ordinarily a kind of game-ending unit, the Juggernaut, but here they're just by themselves. What is even the plan here? How did they even end up over in this position? And the Redeemer is just kind of laugh at them as he stomps over towards them, closes the distance. He can clean up these Juggernauts no problem at all. This bike buggy still has not been eliminated. There isn't a whole lot more to it, but it hasn't been eliminated. And now there are going to be 2 Juggernaut husks in the corner. There's the crush as the second Juggernaut does go down. The Redeemer backs on off. Hammerhead crossing the map. Is this Hammerhead? No, he's not loaded with an engineer or anything, but he is just here to target down some tech. He's not going to get very much. He gets the chemical plant, and that is pretty much it. Which is a nice thing to shut down. Always good to eliminate a Nod player's chemical plant. There's going to be the Marv finally stepping out onto the map. The Redeemer is here with the MCV, and the Obelisk drop on top of the Juggernaut. He actually fires the first shot at the Marv. There's going to be the Rage Gen firing off as well. And Dimitri is here to stay. He's got charged particle beams, and he's even got Tib Core if the bike buggy manages to make its way to the fight. There's the Obelisk, the long shot on the Juggernaut as he knocks down the artillery, and Shock Trepet sort of couldn't have this reveal of the Juggernauts really go any worse. This Redeemer is not getting locked down. No EMPs to save the day for Shock Trepet, whose Marv is dangerously low on health versus this wall of rockets. The Obelisks may be going down, but the rest of the forces are here to fight it out. Grenadiers come out onto the front line, but this Marv is taking so much damage. It is so close to death. I can't believe it's even survived this long as the wall of watchtowers tries to keep it alive. And the Marv is now going to be going in onto a 1v1 with a Redeemer that has an engineer, that has a flame unit, and has a whole lot more health. There's going to be the crush on the Juggernaut. There's the shot that ends it all. And Shock Trepet better have an amazing backup plan, because he's got nothing on the front line. His front line collapses, and that will be the end of the game. Shock Trepet fights it out for 10 minutes and then loses grip of the game. He's not able to stop that bike buggy from just knocking down so many harvesters, and that is a big dip in the resource graph for Shock Trepet. Doing good, and this is where that harvester trouble started for Shock Trepet, and he never recovered from there. That'll do it for game number 1. Let's jump into game number 2. And welcome to Toxicity for that game number 2. It's time for another GDI versus Blackhand. We're getting our classic matchup here. No Zocom mirrors, no goofiness from Reaper 17 or something. On the right side, playing GDI, it's Shock Trepet. Meanwhile, on the left side, living his Blackhand life, this is Dimitri. Looking for that chance to come back into the tournament, but he still has to enter via the round of 12. He's going to try and make his way in, but it is not an easy fight from here on out. We've got ourselves Toxicity, one of these maps that has, in its relatively short time as a map, its relatively short life, has yielded many epic and entertaining games. We're glad to have it here in the pool for Chrono Clash, powered by Chronosphere.io. We, of course, do have the Scouting Pitbull coming in for Shock Trepet. You always want to keep an eye on that Blackhand player. What are they doing? What are they up to? He sees the second refinery, which is a big queue. He also sees the 4 harvesters out on the map. So Shock Trepet has a really good idea of what his opponent has gone for, and seeing that combination of refinery plus those number of harvesters, you can eliminate a lot of things. He's not going for some kind of double war factory all in. He's not going for some kind of fastest possible flame rush. You eliminate a lot of the more aggressive options from the Nod palette or the Blackhand palette when you get that confirmation scout around that 90 or 100 second mark, 1 minute 30, 1 minute 40. And then they're going for the extended. They're going for something with a little bit more eco behind it. That 2.5 minute mark is a good confirmation point as well. In this case, it is going to be a second war factory. He has cut harvester production, so Dimitri, who was ahead on harvesters, is now behind by 1 harvester, and that's the real hallmark of, like, okay, he's cut harvester production. He is slowing down his refinery. He is deliberately going into a ton of units. This isn't just a second war factory to build towards the mid game. This is the second war factory for a punch across the map. 1 harvester takes a bit of damage. Dimitri going to be backing off for the current moment. No command post, no AP ammo started just yet. Shock Trepet gets the second war factory. fairly defensive position there. Will provide some repairs to these harvesters, and the bike buggy going to dive. They do get maybe a little bit of splash damage. Ooh, they missed the opportunity for the splash damage. And now a lot of bikes going to be going down. Shock Trepet loses a harvester there on the dock. Dimitri in that last game doing an amazing job of juking and jiving, staying alive. And in this case, Shock Trepet not able to do the same. He does lose that harvester there, but fortunately he punishes Dimitri on exit. A lot of bikes going down as they cross the map. Now, behind all of this, Dimitri made up for his harvester deficit by building now 9 harvesters, so he gets a kill on one of his opponent, and he more than catches up in the harvester count as the follow-up to this double war factory. Hand of Nod gets deployed as well. Secret Shrine should be added on soon. Black Disciples will follow after that. And this is where things get a lot harder for a non-AP ammo GDI player. As soon as those rockets start pumping out, you want snipers, you want APCs with AP ammo, you want hammerheads. You need these additional tools to deal with that. AP ammo hasn't been started yet. So the command post is out, but the AP ammo is still as far away as it can be. It is a full minute-long upgrade, and the blue Tiberium is being stolen here by Shock Trepet, which is always good, but he still hasn't started it. Hammerheads is what I would expect from this airfield, but he could be going Orcas or he could be going Firehawks. Anything is possible. Anything is possible. Bikes are swinging through. Do we have tier 3? Okay, he's just now getting the ops center. That's actually a bit of a surprise, but I guess if you're going Black Hand or if you're going infantry upgrades first, then it will delay that operations center as you spend all of your cash on the Secret Shrine and on the Black Disciple upgrade. Defensive tower gets purchased by Shock Trepet. He spends the engineer, he gets the reward, and this is a decent defensive tower location. It even has a bit of a safe edge as well, where it can reach over that cavern. You can reach over that rift in the map and fire shots, but it itself doesn't get attacked from that side, or most units can't. Rockets will eventually burn it down, but again, this is a nice early warning system for Shock Trepet. He does want to pull this harvester back. If it gets spotted, it's an easy target for Dimitri to go for. This is mass rockets, mass infantry, but it's also a lot of power with this MCV, and the harvester hasn't been jumped on yet. There are enough bikes here to basically one-shot that harvester and knock it down. Shock Trepet has gone for a third base, so he doesn't have the upgrades. He doesn't have the units here at the natural expansion. All of these harvesters got pulled off the line for one reason or another, and this is going to be a lot of dead APCs. No AP ammo to help out with this fight. It's just up to the Shatterer to land the shots, but one Shatterer is not going to be able to stop this whole army. AP ammo has to be a mistake. It's only halfway done at this point, so you got 30 more seconds, and there's the GG. Shock Trepet just taps out. He's gone. He's done. And once again, it's time for the comeback to take off here on Tournament Airstrip. It's all on the line. On the left side, playing the purple, feeling good. This is Dimitri. It's Black Hand versus GDI once again, and it is the last shot. No more mistakes from here on out. This is Shock Trepet. Down 0-2. Not able to hold off the big wave of the attack that was coming his way on Toxicity. He had a decent start to the game, just fine in a lot of ways, but not able to survive that mid-game punch right across the map, right onto the chin for the knockout of that game. And Shock Trepet has to start the comeback here, and he can't slip up again, which gives Dimitri so many options to be aggressive, especially if he wants to keep up this matchup, Black Hand versus GDI. Dimitri has so many options to go aggressive, to target harvesters, and to go for flame kind of stuff, instead of playing out the longer macro game where GDI is going to be more comfortable. Dimitri walks all the way down to his natural expansion. Shock Trepet looking to do the same sort of thing. Shock Trumpet did grab the Tiberium Spike in the middle of the map, which is always nice. No defensive tower, but there is this structure down here, rarely ever grabbed. Not really necessary in the game, but it can be nice vision on any sneaky flame tank plays that might be coming along that southern edge of the map. So Shock Trumpet, it may benefit him to grab that building. Just keep an eye on what's going on in the world. Anything could be happening with a sneaky Blackhand player. But what actually is happening, always nice to get that confirmation. For now, on the GDI side of things, there's the refinery at the natural expansion. And I think scouts are heading across the map. Yeah, we do have 4 pit bulls, so at the very least, Shock Trumpet will get eyes on the forces of Dimitri, and Shock Trumpet will have a decent idea of what Dimitri is bringing to bear. But I also kind of just think we're going to progress on towards the mid-game. And as both of these players get their tier 2, we can see some of those earlier upgrades come in for each player. And nice of Dimitri to stop by this building and attack it, blow it up, dislodge that rifleman squad, get the confirmation from the rifleman squad that this is where the army is. Okay, there's the war factory. Would love to see a fast command post and AP ammo out from Shock Trumpet, but that second war factory is key to holding on in this game. With all this army roaming around the map, you want to make sure that you've got that second war factory. And if he would have gone 4th refinery before the second war factory, it probably would have just been game over from there based on how Dimitri is playing. But Shock Trumpet has the safety war factory. He can now safely get his 4th refinery. And even though he doesn't have AP ammo, even though he doesn't have that command post, he does at least have a decent number of pit bulls. Not if they fight out in the middle of the map and they can just trade versus these bikes and buggies. Pit bulls going down. That's 4 of them down in that fight. Let's make it 5 and 6 as they trade out against this bike buggy. They could fight on top of the watchtowers. They could try to bring the fight closer to the war factories, and instead they're meeting Dimitri out in the open field and trading with him there. And Dimitri's trading just fine. The buggies did exactly what they needed to do. They absorbed damage. They are the rocket sponge in this Pitbull V AP or Pitbull V bike buggy. The buggies are the bullet sponge and the bikes are the damage. It is a 1-2 operation, and the Pitbulls just sank so many of their shots into those buggies. Bikes now swinging around. Harvesters pulled back. Should be able to save all of the harvesters, and the bikes will back off now. Harvesters back to work, but always you got to worry about the second swing of a punch like this. The bike buggy can always sneak back in and go for another round. AP ammo about halfway done, and will we get to see any shatterers or any of those tier 2 units coming out from this GDI player? For the current moment, no. Radar jamming missile, not actually going to be preceding a big attack or a flame tank or something, but bikes are coming in. No predator tanks, so he's continuing to just stick on APC, which can work in mass. It works better with AP ammo, which hasn't finished up yet at the start of this fight, so the bike buggy is just trading out, but finally AP ammo has finished up, and the fight does get pushed back. Tier 3 is now out as well, so we can see mortars added on for this mass pitbull. Could even go railguns if he's planning on going for a bunch of tanks now that he's got his natural expansion well established. And the tech lab is out as well on the Blackhand side of the map. Mortars have finished up. Okay, so now the pitbulls and the APCs, they both have their damage upgrades ready to go. I don't think Tibcore has even started on the Nod side of things, so that's a bit strange. There might be a bit of a timing here. Oh boy. All right, well, the flame tank does clear out that building, and this is nice scouting from Shock Trumpet. He sees both flame tanks, or at least he has the opportunity to see both flame tanks, and this is pretty much perfect as far as what Shock Trumpet would hope to see. What's inside the Ox Transport? It is just a rifleman. That is a cheap flying scout. And wow, that mortar really goes far afield with that Pitbull or APC may end up going down to that flame tank, but the flame tank should be getting knocked down. Bike Buggy swings through the base, tags that Hammerhead and knocks it down, and it's come a few minutes later, but the 1-2 punch has finally arrived. 2 Harvesters going to be going down, and even more get heavily damaged. This is a great swing and a hit for Dimitri, who finds the Harvester kills, 4 of them here at the natural expansion, and is still going to be able to escape. And he doesn't even have Tib Core. He was able to do all of that without Tib Core on these bikes. One of the bikes goes heroic as well, manages to line up the shots, get the damage done, and he is a hero of the Nod people. More APCs going down in the north. Pitbull's trying to trade back with those forces, and the Marv is going to be the 3rd base economy for the GDI player. There's going to be the secret shrine. It is very late as far as a typical timing of this from a Black Hand player, but he's done enough damage without it. He is just adding on the man spam as the icing on the cake, so to speak. He's already done tremendous damage with his early and mid game, and Dimitri is well set up for the late game transition. Knocking down that entire economy, and he might actually get the catch on the Marv. Is this Marv really that far forward without support? Fortunately, there's no EMP to lock it down, so the Marv will be able to retreat back. Okay, there's the decoy army for vision, but what does he want vision of? The vein detonation didn't come out. He can't stealth field anything to like insta-snipe the snipers or anything. He may have actually seen the 3 snipers on the front line there. But Shredder turrets are here. Charged particle beams are ready to go. Blackhand late game upgrades coming in. Do we still... Okay, we finally do have Tib Core. Okay, so everything has lined up. Quad turrets also being added on, it looks like. So more Shredder turrets, more firepower for the Nod player. Blackhand moving in. And light damage from the tower. Shock Trumpet, he's allowed to establish his 3rd base, so he's actually doing fine on economy. The Marv making up for the difference of all of the Harvesters that he's lost. He's built 2 fresh refineries, so he's got the fresh Harvesters from there. And he's not in a good spot, but he is in a spot. It does feel like he's sort of in a precarious position where if the armies clash, if it is full strength versus full strength, then Shock Trumpet is going to get smashed. So it's about taking the engagements piecemeal, using snipers to whittle down the army, using shockwave artillery to lock units in place and knock them down, recovering husks if possible, or denying the husks from being recovered, and then being able to lock down this bike buggy, which feels impossible to do all of those things perfectly in sequence, but we'll see if Shock Trumpet is able to do it. He's got the economy built up over time. He's got the backbone to be able to do it. So I think he's gonna, he may not be at the numbers that he wants, but EMP grenades, probably not worth it to go for EMP grenades, but at the very least, he wants to have shockwave artillery in his back pocket to either clear out the infantry or to lock down purifiers and force the bike buggy to reroute to somewhere else. This could all go wrong for either one of these players in just a few short seconds. Hammerheads out on the edge of the map there, trying to hide away from these rocket squad sniper teams. I feel like could really do a lot of work. There's going to be the shockwave artillery. Will it actually land on the units that it needs to? It forces everything back, and will allow these hammerheads to just carve through these rocket squad numbers. That's a lot of pit bulls coming forward, and APCs as well. The hammerheads now being set upon, and they will get eliminated. There's going to be the orbital bombardment on top of the bike buggy as they swing in from the north side, and they swing around. They go for the surround. Where's the Marv in this fight? Nowhere to be found. No big super tank to help lock down this fast-moving bike buggy and knock it out of the map. But no, the infantry have gone down, and that is just about the only thing that goes down for the Black Hand. The bike buggy here to clean up the stragglers as one purifier makes its way forward, and the bike buggy pushing past that front line. If the economy of Dmitry was dead behind the scenes and he couldn't macro up another army, then this would actually be fine for Shocktrepid. But behind the scenes, Dmitry is rebuilding his army, and he is going to be ready to go for another fight. This Purifier, I don't know what his plan is. He's just walking around anywhere and nowhere at the same time, and eventually he will go down, not before killing a Pitbull, and the APC eventually cleans up that Purifier. The Heroic Bike, it looks like, did go down, and it's a fresh army on the front line. This is, again, where the sniper teams would be amazing. They clean up the decoy army, but there's also going to be the Vein detonation on top of these low-health harvesters. One of them explodes right away. The Marv, a little bit dangerous in a bad spot, and the Juggernaut's shelling from afar, but can they actually clean enough up to stop the advancing forces? This is so many rockets from Dmitry. This is so many targets, and the sniper teams haven't been culling the herd from the beginning. There's going to be the Rage Gen firing off, and the Marv goes for the Juggernauts and the APCs. Hammerheads coming in to close in on the Redeemer, but the Marv is unprotected by the MCV now. Even the Vapor Bomb on top of the production facilities as Dmitry cleans everything up on the front line. The Juggernauts firing endlessly, but it doesn't stop the onslaught. It doesn't stop the wall of rockets. The Marv backs off. The Hammerheads close in from the north, but there's still just so many rockets remaining. They're not even turning their guns back to fight these Hammerheads. They're continuing to just push forward because they want to kill that Marv, and they get it. The army falls apart for Shocktrepid, and the decoy army, it may be tricking the stats, but it doesn't do real damage. It doesn't even need to, because there's a real army behind it all. And Shocktrepid falling down in game 1 and 2, and here in game 3, Dmitry just powers up to full strength. Blackhand man spam. You gotta respect it. You gotta thin it out. You have to deal with it before it gets to your front doorstep, or that is what happens. Dmitry advances after 3 games into the round of 12, and that will do it for this video. Thank you all very much for watching. A huge thanks to Chronosphere for sponsoring this event, and this is Sybert signing out.